when I see a hot body. A hot body makes me wanna fall in love. Makes me wanna fall in love. Don't stop now, just get ready. Move like a pro, girl, it ain't no hobby. Looking so good, gotta tell somebody. Blows my mind when I see a hot body. A hot body makes me wanna fall in love. A hot body. It's so fine, but you look easy. So much you can make a man read. So don't stop, go ahead and get freaky. You got me wanting to be with you. So sexy, I don't know what to do. Your curves are making my dreams come true. The way you should be taboo. Just getting body, move like a pro, girl, it ain't no hobby. Looking so good, gotta tell somebody. Blows my mind when I see a hot body. A hot body. Makes me wanna fall in love. Makes me wanna fall in love. Don't stop now, just get ready. Move like a pro, girl, it ain't no hobby. Looking so good, gotta tell somebody. Blows my mind when I see a hot body. A hot body, a hot body, a hot body, a hot body, a hot body. 1, 2, 3 into the 4. Checking out your moves as I walk through the door. Never seen a girl like you any before. Body like a goddess as you move on the floor. You're a soldier and you're ready for war. Got a lot of junk in the trunk, you're hardcore. I don't wanna stop, I want you even more. Cause you got a little something I just can't ignore. So go ahead, girl, take your time. Shake it like you need it, girl, let it all shine. Body like an hourglass, looking so fine. And if you wanna kick it, girl, give me a sign. You are so in your prime. You're a masterpiece, the best by design. And if you was a mountain, I'd be ready for the climb. And I'll be on the spot anywhere, anytime.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday and I hope you're ready to just chill with me and have a fun stream and everything is like I'm just hoping that we're ready to have a fun little stream. I've got a couple of videos to watch, including one about Ubisoft. And it really struck my attention because of the accessibility debacle that I got into the other day over Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown. So I wanted to watch that live on stream, and I wanted to cover a couple of other things, and so I figured we'd have a nice fun Sunday variety show. Just hang out and while away the afternoon into the evening. It is freezing rain here, of course, which, well, it was. It's not now, but it was. We had freezing rain warnings, and that's always lovely. And so, I'm just here plugging away at the streaming game. I feel like I've kind of been stagnating when it comes to my streams. My reactions are kind of stale. I feel like I'm not doing justice to what I should be doing, and it's I don't necessarily want to say I'm burnt out, because I'm not burnt out of streaming. I like streaming, but my I need to start finding better stuff to react to. It's getting like I know you guys are starting to feel it too. I can tell. Um, so we're gonna try to find different stuff to react to, different channels to react to, um, and we're gonna find just I think just have a better outlook on stuff. I also want to put more emphasis on disability related content because I am blind and I know that I don't want it to be the end all be all identity of my channel, but I also am needing to recognize that that is part of who I am and that I am not captivating that part of the audience in that way, because I feel like maybe I feel like I'm kind of niching myself away from the blindness content. So you'll find me talking more about like accessibility related stuff as well, and you'll find me talking more about especially accessibility and when it comes to video games. I'm going to be doing a lot more research into that because that is something that I'm very passionate about. You guys know that. So I just want to apologize for, first of all, for being so kind of stagnant and boring in the past few months. I realized that it's been a slog. I get it. And I'm still going to do the Canadian political stuff. Like tomorrow our government is voting on the budget, finally, the fall economic statement. So I'm going to be covering that, of course. And we are going to be I just lost my train of thought. We will be covering the budget, the fall economic statement tomorrow for sure. And that's going to be something to watch for. But I also want to do more like blindness content, blindness related content, reacting to stuff like that. But I'm also going to try not to be super negative about it. If I need to call something out, I'll call something out, but I'm going to try not to be horrible and negative about everything, because that's one of the biggest problems that I'm facing, is that I'm being very like the negativity is really coming in strong again, and that's never a good thing. So I don't know, that's just my thoughts on where I am right now for streaming and how I've been reacting. So let's try to do better. Let's try to do better and not drive everybody away. So we're gonna look at an Atozi video, and I'm gonna put it on the small screen. Coffee, yummy. So we're gonna look at this video by Atozi about another TikToker going to face 10 years in prison for a prank. I wonder what prank they pulled that's going to give them a 10-year prison sentence. This is gonna be interesting. Let's see what this is about.
These teenagers just ruined their lives because of a TikTok prank.
Of course they're teenagers. Why am I not surprised that they're teenagers and they're doing
their university? Well, what was the prank? Allegedly, they ran into the cafeteria pretending to hold a gun and started yelling threats and commands.
Oh, Lord. Wow. That is just special. That is just incredibly special. Pretending to commit a school shooting. Wow. Slow clap for you, you dumbass.
There's no words for how stupid that is. Like,
No.
they straight up did a school prank and then blamed it on a TikTok trend.
A TikTok trend. What TikTok trend is pretend to commit a school shooting? What TikTok trend is that? I mean, I've been off TikTok for like 4 months now, but still, I am not aware of there being any sort of TikTok trend of pretend to commit a school shooting.
I've covered a lot of stupid trends throughout my years of doing this, but that might be the dumbest thing I've covered in a very long time.
Yeah,
Two UConn students allegedly implied they had a gun at a dining hall. Now, UConn says both students were arrested yesterday, saying they were recreating a viral TikTok video. NBC Connecticut's Melissa Cooney joins us live in stores with student reaction and more. Melissa?
Jesus Christ. They're recreating a viral TikTok trend. That is just... The fact that they're university students and they're saying that.
That's right, Kevin. Police say the students were arrested on charges of conspiracy to commit a threatening act and a breach of peace. We spoke with other students here on campus, say that this was concerning to experience and to hear about.
No shit.
Oh boy. Okay, so
no shit, it was concerning to experience. If you don't, like, for that split second that you don't know that it's not a, or that it is a prank, you're gonna be like, holy shit, am I gonna die?
threatening to act charge, that could be up to 1 year in jail or a fine of $2,000. And the breach of peace could be anything from a couple months in jail all the way up to 5 years in Connecticut.
Shit.
And that is not all the charges, since apparently more have dropped since this was aired.
Disruption in a busy Yukon dining hall.
I heard that friends were in there and it was scary for them to know that that could happen. Even though it was fake, it's still nerve-wracking.
This is insane. It's not really funny.
Police say
no, it's not funny. It's very much not funny. And for people to actually pretend to commit a shooting at a school, like, there have been plenty of shootings at schools for enough for this to not be something that you pretend.
Nathaniel Gez and Tan Bao allegedly recorded themselves yelling commands in the dining hall and implying they had a firearm. The situation caused a stir, many taking to social media to share their concerns. Police say the two were reenacting a viral video. Some students say they have no idea what they were recreating.
I haven't heard of any trends like that.
Others have seen the supposed original video, but still find the situation concerning.
I think it was a little misunderstood, but again, I'm not condoning the behavior or anything.
A little misunderstood. No. That was just stupid. That's stupid behavior that has no place on anywhere. There's no, oh, this is misunderstood. No, this was just bad behavior.
Doing that in a crowded dining hall with hundreds of students eating is pretty much a pretty bad idea.
Yeah, that is a terrible idea. Like, no matter how you look at that, there's no question about it. That was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I don't know what the upside of this prank would be. Like, you know,
There's
considering
no
the real thing they're imitating here is every student's worst nightmare.
Yeah. There's like how many drills and bullshit do you have to go through at a school for the school shooting stuff to stick in your head, and then somebody comes in and pretends to do it?
This one just has me
That's
baffled. Like, this is just, and this is some peak stupidity that's going on here.
We live in a time of zero tolerance for any kind of violence in schools or on campuses. So, unfortunately, they don't stop to think about these things.
William Carbone is the director of the university.
They don't stop to think about these things because they don't care about these things. Because all they care about is their TikTok views. And did we recreate the TikTok trend properly enough?
Of New Haven's Youth Justice Institute. He says people recreating videos and faux threats are becoming increasingly more common due to social media. He says this is a good time for parents to talk with their young adults about differentiating what they think is funny and the consequences that could come from what they say is a misunderstanding.
The fact that this has to be done, like, when did it have to be explained to a university-age student that it's not funny to fake a school shooting? I feel like even 10 years ago, that would have been something that was obvious. Why is now this suddenly a thing that parents need to, like, that's something you talk about with, like, your 10-year-old. If they say something stupid like that, you go, dude, that's not funny. You don't joke about that. Like, that's not something a university age person should need to be told.
It's shocking you have to say these things. Like, anything that has to do with an active shooter anywhere is not something you mess around with.
No.
That is quite literally how you die. All it takes is a bunch of people.
How do you not get yourself shot by pretending to be an active shooter?
Understand your prank, which happened right here, and a hero can take you out, or you get criminal charges, which is what happened here. This is, oh my goodness, I can't believe how stupid this is.
Doesn't mean that they should be marked for the rest of their life, but at the same time, it has to be taken seriously, because
no. It's time for these pranks to stop. So it's time that they should be marked for the rest of their life. If they're gonna do something this stupid, yes, they need to be marked for the rest of their life.
Never know when they really have some kind of a weapon.
And UConn says they can't share if disciplinary action are being taken against the students, but they do say, generally speaking, when students do something to violate the safety of other students, they could be subject to something like expulsion. Now the two are back in court next week.
I should hope so. At the very least, expulsion. At the most, charges.
It's really the goal here. Was the goal a funny TikTok? Really? I get they're both young, and they're definitely at the age of, you know, doing stupid stuff and learning the hard way. For most people, though, that doesn't mean facing several years in jail.
No, there's stupid stuff, and then there's this. This is not something you can rack up to just kids being stupid kids.
And for this prank, they're gonna get what's coming for, because the details currently are Dan Bao, he's apparently 18 from Vernon, Connecticut. So he's been charged with second-degree breach of peace, first-degree threatening and displaying a firearm, and conspiracy to commit first-degree / threatening / displaying a firearm. Then you have Nathaniel over here, Nathaniel David Gez, 18 of Penn Valley, Pennsylvania.
Also an adult.
So he's out of state. He's been charged with second-degree breach of peace and conspiracy to commit a first-degree / threatening or displaying a firearm. So threatening / displaying a firearm, that has a mandatory minimum sentence of 1 year in prison and can range all the way up to 10 years.
Holy shit. I hope your TikTok was funny, boys, for that 10-year prison sentence that you're facing.
If convicted, obviously. These guys are innocent until proven guilty. Yeah. But what a stupid thing to do. These guys straight up effed around and ruined their lives with this. So, they were arrested a couple weeks ago and have since been released on a $50,000 bond. Bao is accused of being the person who pretended to hold the gun while Gez recorded all of it.
But they're both complicit. If somebody's gonna be recording that, that's definitely a complicit actor in the whole scenario. So he absolutely should be charged.
Written statement, UConn said the federal privacy laws prohibits it from discussing if they face discipline. In quote, though, however, generally speaking, any students who are believed to have engaged in behavior that causes safety concerns and or disrupts regular operation may face student code of conduct reviews and can be subject for sanctions up to including expulsion. So
I have a feeling they'll get expelled for that. There's no way you can pretend to shoot up the dining hall of your school and not get a at least disciplinary infraction, at the most an expulsion.
So what are the tuition costs of University of Connecticut? In-state, $21,000. Out-of-state, $43,000.
Wow.
Imagine paying $43,000 a year since at least one of them is out-of-state. To have your
it just down the toilet. 43 grand just down the toilet because you decided to film a stupid TikTok.
kid kicked out because he did an alleged TikTok active shooter prank. I feel so bad for their parents.
I don't feel bad for their parents at all, because they didn't. Their children are 18 years old and think it's okay to film an active shooter prank. There's something wrong with the parenting here.
If their parents weren't paying for their college and they were getting loans for this and then they got expelled, that's on them. Or if they got a scholarship for this and then got expelled. I mean, every single case is just terrible here. But apparently there's some more details to this.
After allegedly reenacting a viral TikTok video in a school cafeteria, witnesses say it looked as if they were pretending that they had a gun and ordered people onto the ground.
No way did they yell everybody on the ground.
No. There's no way. If he yelled everybody on the ground and then pretended that he had a gun, oh my god.
Honestly surprised they didn't get shot or tackled and violently beat up. I guess lucky for them this happened in Connecticut and not in the South. While most campuses have no gun policies, there's likely plenty of people who still risk it for self-defense. And again, all it takes is a hero to misunderstand the situation and they wouldn't be here anymore.
Nope. That's all it takes, is somebody who's like, fuck this, I'm carrying a gun for self-defense, and then they mistake the prank for real, and boom, you're gone.
What an incredibly stupid thing to do.
Good morning, Keith, and things are much calmer this morning than they were last night. Students that we spoke with describing this as a very realistic looking mock shooting that happened right on the campus in the dining hall.
Lovely.
I heard a lot of yelling. I think some kid had pretended to have a gun in his hand. He was just yelling at this other kid to put his hands up or get down, something along those lines.
Oh yeah, no, never. You never yell, put your hands up, get down on the ground. No. Oh my god, what an idiot.
You just heard from Luke Bohan. That's a UConn freshman who was in the dining hall at the time that this all happened. Police saying that this is a viral social media trend where students reenact a shooting inside a crowded school cafeteria.
What a stupid trend. Why are all these trends happening? There aren't any good wholesome trends going on. It's all just pretend to have an active shooter in your situation, or pretend to steal somebody's car, or something stupid like that. Why?
Bohan describes some students, quote, shrugging it off, while others were, quote, frozen in fear.
There is no way this is a new viral trend. I haven't heard of this until now. And I've been covering all TikTok stupidity since 2018. I basically have a PhD in TikTok stupidity. I actually have 1 year. I'm 1 year out. I'm 1 year away from studying this stuff to have a PhD in TikTok stupidity. Which I'll put a plaque behind me. Put one of these what are these called? Like the little signs here. PhD in TikTok stupidity here.
That's brilliant. I love that. Do it.
The plaque behind there.
Do it,
I'm gonna print one out.
Police say Tan Bao walked into the dining hall and held a cell phone in a two-handed shooter stance and then began yelling at students at their tables. And Nathaniel Gaz was recording it all on his cell phone. He was also yelling aggressively at students. Both of these students have been charged with several crimes, including a felony for threatening. Police are taking this very seriously. They've set bond at $50,000. And these two students are due in court on the 21st.
Well, yeah. You can't do this shit. You cannot pretend to shoot up your school cafeteria with your cell phone or anything.
This morning, Brittany Taylor, News 8.
Oh man, this generation really is cooked if they thought this was a good idea.
Yep.
Was the prank actually just like, haha, we didn't have a gun, you got pranked, everybody on the ground. Psych, we don't have a gun.
We didn't have a gun, haha, you were scared. You thought you were gonna die today, haha, gotcha. Yo, yeah, that's hilarious.
What idiots. So what a great way to just completely ruin your life for basically zero upside. This was definitely way worse than the door breaching TikTok trend that we covered earlier, where teenagers essentially replaced the ding dong ditch trend with running up and jump kicking a random person's door before running off.
Oh, fucking great. That's just, what is wrong with this generation? What happened? Like, what, it can't just be it can't just be the internet. It like, what is it that's making this generation so stupid and so rude? Wow.
You know, great things are really coming out of these TikTok trends. Another trend that's also apparently going viral is there's apparently a Superman trend that schools are warning parents about. I can't play the music in this video for copyright reasons, but they say Superman. So the trend is essentially you do a Superman into people's arms, and kids being kids are not catching each other, leaving people with injuries. Because
of course they are, because they're children and they're not able to balance and catch each other properly, so then people are probably getting broken bones and concussions.
They just Superman and land on the ground on their stomach. There's not a lot of examples about it, but I did see a couple news articles saying that schools are issuing warnings to parents about this.
Jesus Christ. This is why kids shouldn't be on social media. Because adults can't even operate social media properly half the time. Children can't be expected to figure it out.
But this is harmless compared to what we just covered over here. So, safe to say, running into a cafeteria, pretending to have a weapon and screaming, "Everybody on the ground," can't even be compared with that. Please don't do a stupid trend like this. Don't do any TikTok trends without thoroughly thinking through what you're actually doing here.
Don't do any TikTok trends, period. Just do your own shit. Do your own content, right? Like, the only time you should jump on a trend is the hashtags. That's all. But, like, just do your own content. Don't do, oh, everybody else is doing this, so I should do it. No. Just no. That's just the dumbest. Pretending to shoot up your school cafeteria. How pathetic. How pathetic can you get? How can, like, how just absolutely just, ugh. I can't even word properly. I wasn't expecting that stupidity in that video. That they were actually pretending to shoot up their school cafeteria. That was not what I was expecting. But I sure hope that they get 10 years in prison for that. Because that's not something you fuck around with. And if you're gonna pretend to do something that serious, then you should be punished for pretending to do something that serious. Speaking of doing something serious, we're going to learn about the scariest stalking case in Canadian history. This is from Scary Interesting. I wanted to take a look at it because, like I said, I want to start reacting to, like, new stuff. So we're going to take a look at this video from Scary Interesting and learn about this case.
It all began with a single phone call. It was brief, menacing, and impossible to trace. But for the woman who answered, it was the start of a nightmare that would spiral into one of the most baffling and disturbing mysteries in Canadian history. As always, viewer discretion is advised.
I wonder if I've heard of this case.
Things were going pretty well for Cindy James in the fall of 1982, and it had been a long time coming. Her life to that point could have been described as average by most people. She grew up in a military family that moved around a bit, graduated high school, and eventually decided to get into nursing as a career. But there were some darker moments throughout her life to that point too. She was born on June 12, 1944 in Oliver, British Columbia, Canada, as one of 6 children. Her father, Otto, was in the Canadian Air Force, and as a military man, Cindy would often write in her diary about how strict he was and how he would use corporal punishment whenever he deemed it appropriate.
So he's heavy-handed guy, is what we're coming to see about this gentleman, Otto.
At some point while the family was living in Ottawa, Otto got another transfer, this time back to France, but Cindy wouldn't be joining them there. Instead, she was heading back to British Columbia to attend nursing school. During the holidays and breaks afterward from her studies, she would fly out to France to visit them, but most often she kept in touch through letters. In these letters, Cindy would update the family on how school was going and what she was up to in general, but after a while, she started to make mention of a male intern that she met. Then, not long after he started to appear in the letters, she announced that the two were engaged to be married. Tragically, however, a letter would soon come to explain that the intern had been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and while the couple was on a skiing vacation together, he decided to end things himself. Interestingly, never in her letters did she ever name him, and none of her family members ever met him, prompting some speculation among her loved ones that the story was never true and just a...
So so they think that this guy that she's been writing about doesn't exist. Okay, that's interesting. Well, because if she's only just suddenly like, hey, there's this guy that I've met and now we're engaged.
Figment of Cindy's imagination, or possibly even a lie. In any case, 3 years later, she met a South African doctor named Roy Makepeace, and although he was 18 years older than her, the two began a relationship and eventually got married.
Okay.
Cindy was much more forthcoming about Roy and was able to show that he did actually exist, but Otto was concerned about the marriage. He felt like his daughter was exhibiting gullibility that Roy was taking advantage of, and while there was never any real evidence that the doctor was in it for anything but his love for Cindy, the relationship was anything but storybook. Soon enough, in Cindy's letters to France, she started to write that the couple was emotionally distant. And not only that, but she later claimed that Roy was physical with her on several occasions.
Ooh. So she's actually writing about physical abuse in the letters. That's not good. But that's also kind of ballsy. What if he read the letters?
Meanwhile, after working as a pediatric nurse at Vancouver General Hospital for a time, Cindy got a new job as a team coordinator at the Blenheim House, which was a facility for children with behavioral issues. All the while, the relationship between Cindy and Roy continued to disintegrate. Finally, during the summer of 1982, it became all too much and they decided to amicably separate.
Okay.
But thankfully afterwards, Cindy enjoyed her newfound freedom and she was especially in love with her new job. For the first 4 months after the separation, things couldn't have gone any better for her. But all of that changed when the phone rang at her house on October 7th, 1982. When she picked up and said hello, the voice...
The whole time the screen has not been shared.
Oh. Nobody said anything.
Nope. No one ever does, do they? Wonder why. So you just did how much stuff did you just go over with it as a black screen?
I just went over one video. And luckily it wasn't a very important one. Okay. That's better. Let's back this up a little bit.
Tell me about Roy, and was able to meet a South African doctor named Roy Makepeace, and although he was 18 years older than her, the two began a relationship and eventually got married. Cindy was much more forthcoming about Roy and was able to show that he did actually exist, but Otto was concerned about the marriage. He felt like his daughter was exhibiting gullibility that Roy was taking advantage of, and while there was never any real evidence that the doctor was in it for anything but his love for Cindy, the relationship was anything but storybook. Soon enough, in Cindy's letters to France, she started to write that the couple was emotionally distant. And not only that, but she later claimed that Roy was physical with her on several occasions.
Like I said, what happens if he reads the letters about her saying that he's physically abusing her? Like, wouldn't that make him angry? Like, why are you telling your family about this?
Meanwhile, after working as a pediatric nurse at Vancouver General Hospital for a time, Cindy got a new job as a team coordinator at the Blenheim House, which was a facility for children with behavioral issues.
Okay.
All the while, the relationship between Cindy and Roy continued to disintegrate. Finally, during the summer of 1982, it became all too much and they decided to amicably separate. But thankfully afterwards, Cindy enjoyed her newfound freedom and she was especially in love with her new job. For the first 4 months after the separation, things couldn't have gone any better for her. But all of that changed when the phone rang at her house on October 7th, 1982. When she picked up and said hello, the voice on the other end spoke in a hushed tone before the caller abruptly hung up. This was an odd phone call. Cindy initially thought that maybe it was just a wrong number or a bad connection, but this would not be the last time she heard this voice.
Okay, so we're starting with weird phone calls. Okay, this is not
This
good.
October 7th call kicked off a series of harassing, obscene, and threatening calls that would last for the next 7 years.
Jesus Christ, 7 years worth of phone calls? My
In
God.
the early stages of this period, Cindy reported the calls to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who sent an officer to her house to investigate. By this point, she had only received a few of the disturbing calls, so the officer recommended that she start to keep a log of when the calls come in and the content of the conversations.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's probably the best way to document everything and make sure that you get enough evidence for the police to help you. Is you're going to have to interact with these.
Additionally, he told her that getting an unlisted phone number would be a good idea. So, satisfied that the matter had been settled, the officer left and told her to call back if the unwanted calls continued or if she noticed anything else abnormal. But just seconds after he departed, Cindy's phone rang with no one on the other end.
Okay,
and
that's
disturbingly,
creepy.
the very next day, the voice returned and even mentioned the police visit to her home.
That's fucking disturbing. How the hell did they know about the cops coming to their to the house? That is... Ew, that's creepy.
As the days passed, things began to escalate quickly, and Cindy was no longer tormented by just a few phone calls. A little more than a week after the first call came in, she spotted an intruder creeping around the outside of her house, and the next morning she discovered her porch lights had been shattered.
Okay, that's an escalation and a half. This is creeping me out, just listening to this.
At another point, a rock was thrown through
It's like
one of
a
her
horror
windows,
movie.
and someone broke in, but when she investigated, everything in the house appeared to be as it should. On October 19th, however, someone entered the house again and slashed one of the pillows sitting on her bed.
Ooh, that's gotta have some sort of significance. Why slash a pillow on her bed? Other than to show that she's got... other than to show your dominance.
And every time one of these incidents would occur, Cindy called the police as she was instructed. Considering how the suspicious activity was ramping up, police started to look into what was going on a lot more closely. In interviews with Cindy, they learned about her past relationships, including the recent separation she had gone through with Roy. And right away, he became a prime suspect, but they weren't expecting her to tell them that she didn't think that he was capable of such torment. Yes, he had been violent with her in the past, and the police knew that. He even admitted as much, but stalking and violently harassing her didn't seem to be in his character.
Okay, so he admitted that he hit her. He admitted that they had a bad relationship. Okay, but if he was going to admit that, why would he hide everything else?
This
Okay,
wasn't
I
enough
see
for the
that.
police to take their eye off him completely, but they
No.
began to consider other possibilities as well. Maybe she had some sort of twisted admirer from her work or the neighborhood, or maybe someone close to her, knowing that she was now on her own, was behind the incidents.
Maybe.
Basically, anything was on the table, but they were no closer to identifying whoever it was. Meanwhile, the phone calls and strange activity continued, and by then others were starting to take note too.
Oh God! Now other people are starting to notice. That's always bad.
Cindy had taken on tenants to live in her basement apartment, and the two people who lived there noted on October 20th that they heard strange noises above them.
Okay.
When they went to investigate, they discovered that the rest of the house was empty and that Cindy was likely at work, as expected for that time of the day. When Cindy came home and heard about this from her tenant, she called the police, who sent out a constable named Patrick. He then interviewed the tenants before going to Cindy's neighbors to see if they'd noticed anything, and one of them would tell Patrick that they had seen a man outside Cindy's house multiple times. This might have been the break police had been looking for, but when asked if the man happened to look like Cindy's estranged husband, Roy, the neighbor said it looked nothing like him.
Okay, so this random person is so far nobody knows who he is. He doesn't look like the ex, so this kind of pulls the ex off the table now.
Now, other than the creepiness going on, Patrick being dispatched to investigate the incident seemed almost to be like fate. When they met, there was just something between Patrick and Cindy, and what started as an interview quickly turned into casual dating and more. In fact,
interesting. This guy is inserting himself in the investigation.
Within a few days of meeting, Patrick, who was also separated from his spouse, moved in with Cindy. So not only did Cindy now have someone to support her through all the turmoil that was engulfing her life, she had someone who could protect her should things escalate any further. And only a few days after moving in, Patrick was taking some empty boxes out to the trash when he noticed a car sitting in the alleyway behind Cindy's house with a man inside it.
Oh, that's not suspicious at all. Just a random car, the guy just sitting in it, just, hello, I'm just here in the alley.
When he approached the vehicle, the driver's identity became clear. It was Roy. Patrick immediately started grilling Cindy's estranged husband, who claimed that he was staking out the house to see if he could spot whoever was responsible for harassing Cindy. Patrick then went on to inform him that he had moved in with Cindy, so Roy, obviously upset by this revelation, quickly drove off. In the week,
but why would Roy be upset with that? If they parted ways amicably and they were both like shitty to each other, why would Roy care?
Afterward, during his time living at the house, Patrick experienced one of the phone calls that Cindy was receiving, only the person who made the call never spoke. Police made every effort to trace these calls that kept coming in, but they were usually far too short for them to get a location on them. And as the perpetrator continued to prove, however, the phone calls were the least of Patrick and Cindy's worries. In late November, Cindy came out to her car to leave for work, but just as she was getting in, she noticed there was a photograph that was pinned beneath one of her windshield wipers.
Oh, no.
When she went around the car to see what it was, the breath was knocked out of her. It was a picture of a dead body beneath a medical sheet.
Oh boy, that's a little on the nose.
And then, later that same day, Patrick investigated outside the house and found that the phone lines had been cut in 5 separate places. While all of this was going on, Cindy and Roy actually seemed to remain on good terms despite their separation. And in fact, as unlikely as it might have been, Patrick and Roy started to form a friendship because the ex-couple remained in contact.
Okay. So, this is getting really creepy and convoluted. I'm
Cindy
liking
would
this.
even invite her estranged husband over to the house.
I'm glad I found
and the three would
this
sit
video.
there and discuss the case. It seemed as though Roy was genuinely interested in helping Cindy solve whatever was going on. A couple of months would go by like this, and Patrick would eventually move back to his place on December 1st, but he and Cindy would continue dating.
Okay.
With Christmas fast approaching, Cindy was looking forward to having a quiet holiday season, but these hopes were crushed when she found a note outside her house with another photograph. On it, the message just said, "Merry Christmas," but the image was grotesque. It was of a woman who was clearly deceased due to a long wound along her neck.
Jesus Christ, dude. This is getting just weird. Who is this person, and why are they leaving all these weird ass photos? How are they getting these photos?
This barrage of harassment was constant through phone calls, notes, and reports of a man outside the home all the way until the end of the year, but for the most part, things didn't escalate any further. This would all change at the end of January to kick off 1983. On the night of the 27th, Cindy's good friends Tom and Agnes dropped by the house unexpectedly. When they knocked on the door, they received no answer, and although Cindy's car was parked in the driveway, it wasn't terribly odd for her to not come to the door around this time. Agnes knew that one of Cindy's favorite parts of the day was taking a relaxing bath, so she figured that's where she was. Just as they were about to leave, however,
why do I have a feeling Cindy's dead?
Agnes thought she heard something coming from behind the house. She and Tom then went to check it out, and when they reached the detached garage area, there was Cindy crouched down and cowering in fear with a black nylon stocking tied tightly around her neck.
Oh shit. Well, she's almost she's in the, what's the word? In the act of being dead?
Tom and Agnes then quickly moved to untie the stocking as Cindy gasped for air. When she finally caught her breath, she started to explain what happened. She said she'd gone up to the garage to get some boxes, but suddenly she was grabbed from behind. The person then led her into the garage where another man was waiting. The two men then took turns wrapping the nylon around her before one of them assaulted her with a knife.
Why would this happen, though? Why wouldn't they just take her? Why would they not just abduct
Tom
her?
then
Why
rushed
would
inside
they
the house
do
to call
this?
the authorities, and shortly after they arrived, Cindy was whisked away to the nearby hospital by ambulance. She was then examined and thankfully found to be in good condition despite the attack. Strangely though, doctors saw no signs of the knife assault Cindy described.
Why do I have a feeling that this whole case is not even happening? Why do I have a feeling we're about to discover that Cindy made all this up?
So despite the evidence of Cindy being victimized by an unknown and clearly obsessed assailant, police started to wonder about a new potential suspect, which was Cindy herself.
There you go.
They were making no headway in their investigation otherwise, so again, everything was on the table. This was a scenario that didn't seem to make much sense though, and it certainly didn't align with what had been reported to that point. It wasn't like Cindy was the only one to witness these things. Neighbors had reported sightings outside the house, the tenants had heard strange noises above them when Cindy was at work, and even one of their own, Patrick, had answered one of the strange phone calls that Cindy was receiving.
Okay. So that's hard to fake. If Cindy is the one doing all of this, that's hard to fake, the phone calls being answered by somebody else.
Still, investigators felt the need to cover all their bases, so they recommended Cindy speak to a psychiatrist, but she refused, fearing that it would stigmatize her in the eyes of police and those close to her.
I get that, but at the same time, you've got to fucking cover your own ass.
As
dude.
1983 wore on, the calls still came in and notes randomly arrived at the home. Cindy even moved twice in the first half of the year, but the harassment only followed her as if the perpetrator was watching her the whole time. And feeling like she had been betrayed by the police, she hired a private investigator named Ozzy who acted like a neutral third party as he got himself caught up on the case.
Okay. So she feels that the police aren't doing anything to help her. So she's going to hire somebody to go as a go-between.
In speaking to police and reviewing reports, he came to believe that Cindy wasn't being nearly as forthcoming as she should be with investigators, almost
Jeez, it's almost like the outside investigator, third-party investigator is seeing the same thing.
as if she was hiding something. And now that he was working the case for Cindy, it was something he could keep a close eye on.
Mm-hmm.
More than a year after the very first phone call came in, things progressed in terrible ways. In late 1983, 3 cats were found dead and bound with rope in her garden.
God damn.
In response, and in case she needed him immediately, Ozzy gave Cindy a two-way radio, and one night he heard strange noises coming from Cindy's side of it. When he arrived at the house, he knocked on the door, but Cindy didn't answer. He then stepped to the window on the porch and peered inside and found her lying on the floor as if she was dead.
Okay. So she's like just playing possum on the floor of her house waiting for somebody to show up and see her? That's weird. What smells so yummy?
Nice rare steak with asparagus and salad.
Ooh. Thank you.
Ozzy then immediately kicked in the door and checked Cindy's vital signs. She was still breathing and still had a pulse, but most concerning was that a paring knife had been driven through her hand with a note attached to it.
A paring
in letters
knife?
that were cut from a magazine were the words, "Now you must die." Once again,
Dude, what the fuck is Cindy's problem? Why is Cindy so crazy? I have a feeling Cindy did all of this herself.
Cindy was rushed to the hospital where she would make a full recovery, and when she was stable, she told Ozzy all she remembered was seeing a man she didn't recognize enter the front gate before she was hit over the head with a blunt object. She also reported the feeling of a needle going into her arm, and when doctors looked her over, sure enough, there was a puncture wound. Weirdly though, a toxicology report determined that there were no drugs in her system. Police, who were still exploring every possible angle of the case, urged Cindy to take a polygraph test, which she initially agreed to. Initially, there was no deception detected, meaning Cindy was telling the truth according to the test, but the officer who administered it would later say after further examination that the results were inconclusive. And meanwhile, it seemed that there was no end in sight to Cindy's torment. On June 18th, 1984, Oz received a frantic call from her, and when he arrived at her house in a rush, he found Cindy in the garden, absolutely panic-stricken. She claimed someone had broken in and she managed to escape, but she didn't know if the potential attacker was still inside. Ozzy then entered the house to investigate, and when he went into the basement, he found Cindy's dog Heidi had been bound up with rope. And then next to Heidi was also a note that read "Happy Birthday," accompanied by several explicit photos. On the windowsill of the basement, Ozzy also found a cigarette butt, and while Cindy was a smoker, she didn't smoke that particular brand. This incident, more than anything, convinced Ozzy that Cindy was not the person behind all of this.
Okay.
More than a year later, Cindy was attacked again, this time at a nearby park while walking Heidi around 8:30 in the evening. Later that same night, Cindy was clearly under the influence of something as she frantically tried to enter the home of a neighbor, thinking that it was her own house. She was taken to the hospital, where once again, 2 needle puncture marks were found in her arm. While there as well, the hospital receptionist received a strange phone call from someone who spoke with an accent of some kind. The man on the line then began to ask the receptionist questions about the hospital's security staff and protocol. And sometime later, police played a recording of Roy's voice to see if she recognized it as the man who called that night, and she told them that it sounded like the same man. Another little while later, things took an even stranger turn in the summer of 1985, when Cindy had to be involuntarily committed to a psychiatric ward after attempting to end things. This gave police more of a reason to doubt everything she reported to that point. Then, in a separate incident, as 1985 came to a close, motorists in Vancouver spotted something in the ditch around 6 p.m. one night in December. It was Cindy. She was discovered badly beaten with cuts and bruises all over her body and a black nylon stocking tied around her neck. And also similar to other attacks, Cindy had needle puncture wounds in her arm, leading police to believe that she had been injected with a tranquilizer. After she was taken to the hospital and recovered, Cindy had no memory of how she ended up in the ditch.
Wow.
Another couple of months later, in early 1986, in response to everything going on, Tom and Agnes start to spend nights at her place. On one occasion, Cindy woke the couple up in the middle of the night after hearing a loud noise downstairs. Tom, however, was already awake because he heard it too. Then when they went to investigate, they found that Cindy's basement was in flames. Agnes then ran to the phone, but the line had also been cut, so Tom ran out the front door to see if he could get a neighbor to call the fire department. And when he did, he saw a man standing outside the house. Unfortunately though, as Tom approached him, the man ran off. Incredibly, despite the fact that there were 2 other witnesses to what happened that night, police believe Cindy staged the entire thing. There were no signs of forced entry, yet the fire had Police believe Cindy staged the entire thing.
Holy shit.
There were no signs of forced entry, yet the fire had undoubtedly started inside the house. When they checked the accessible windows as well, investigators also found that none of the dust on any of them had been disturbed, making it unlikely that someone climbed through them. All of this was just very confusing. Either way, in the days that followed the fire, Cindy stayed at the home of Tom and Agnes, and they found it strange that she refused to eat and would sometimes remark that her life wasn't worth living anymore. Cindy was also being treated by a psychiatrist, and around this same time, he had seen and heard enough from her to believe that she needed more specialized treatment. She was then placed in a psych ward of a local hospital where she received a comprehensive evaluation over a 10-week stay. Unfortunately though, this didn't change anything. Cindy would continue to file police report after police report through 1987 and much of 1988. Then, on October 11th, 1988, Roy's home answering machine recorded 2 strange messages, one of which was a strongly worded threat on Cindy's life. Then, about 2 weeks later, Cindy was attacked again. When she was discovered unconscious inside her garage with a black nylon stocking around her neck, only this time she was hogtied. In investigating this incident, police sought the assistance of a not expert to examine the way Cindy was tied. More than anything though, they wanted to determine if it was possible that she could have tied herself that way. But when the expert analyzed the knots and the photos of how Cindy was bound, he said there was little way she could have done it herself. Several months later, on June 8, 1989, a truck pulled up to the curb of an abandoned house in the Richmond neighborhood of Vancouver and parked. A municipal worker then got out and started to get his tools together when he noticed a fuel tank on the property had been spray painted in bright orange paint. Graffiti wasn't exactly uncommon to come across in his line of work, but what he thought he could read of it from the street was. As he got closer, what he spotted in the street was confirmed. It was a vulgar message, but let's just say it was the equivalent of "someone died here." He then continued toward the tank and noticed there was also spray paint on the ground in a line that led from the tank to the backyard where it was connected with a large circle. In the middle of this circle was the dead and decomposing body of Cindy. She had a nylon stocking around her neck and she was hogtied, lying on her right side in the fetal position. When police and forensics responded to the scene, a pathologist's examination of the body showed that Cindy's hands had been tied so tightly together that one of her fingernails had cut the side of the finger next to it down to the bone. There was also a needle puncture wound in her arm, and an autopsy determined her death was caused by overdoses of several sedatives. One of the drugs found in her body was morphine, which was at a level 10 times greater than the legal dose.
Wow.
2 other drugs were also discovered in her stomach in large quantities, and when the toxicology report came back, the coroner estimated that just with the morphine alone, Cindy would have been gone within minutes. On the surface, it appeared as clear-cut a homicide as police were ever likely to investigate, but the RCMP wasn't convinced. Considering Cindy's psychological history and the more than 100 police reports that she had filed in the previous 7 years, they believed her death was the result of another staged scene that went wrong or that she finally ended things herself. In late spring of 1990, so about a year after her body was discovered, a coroner's inquest was formed to get to not only the bottom of how Cindy died, but who was responsible. More than 80 witnesses would go on to testify, including Cindy's loved ones, police, experts, and several doctors who treated Cindy for psychological illness. When it came time for the psychiatrist and psychologist to speak to the jury of 5 people, some interesting findings came to light. The several doctors she was under the care of had all diagnosed her differently. One said she had a condition called histrionic personality disorder, which includes symptoms like dramatic emotions and thoughts, gullibility, difficulty maintaining relationships, and behavior that is exaggerated in comparison to the situations they may find themselves in.
That I didn't even think about histrionic personality disorder. That's interesting. Very well could be.
Another determined that she was likely suffering from borderline personality disorder, and the third believed that Cindy exhibited symptoms of dissociative personality disorder, which was once known as multiple personality disorder. The person who would turn out to be the unexpected star witness, however, was a not-expert who was different from the one police previously consulted with. During his testimony, he said that he believed it was possible that Cindy could have bound herself in the rope the way she was discovered before the drugs in her system had taken effect.
Oh.
And in front of the jury, he actually demonstrated this, and it took him just 3 minutes to bind himself.
Wow. That's crazy. So it could have been her.
Obviously, though, none of this explained the many witnesses to Cindy's harassment. From Tom to Agnes to Roy to her next-door neighbors, there were more than a handful of people who testified and supported Cindy's claims that she was the target of some obsessed and depraved stalker who finally ended his 7-year-long reign of terror by ending her life. When the inquest concluded, the jury began deliberations, but just like all the forensics and psychology experts, they couldn't determine whether Cindy died as a result of homicide, accident, or by her own doing. So, tragically, in the end, Cindy's death certificate denotes that she perished as a result of an unknown event.
That's crazy. After all that time, nobody really knows how she died.
So, what do you think happened? Do you think Cindy was a troubled individual and for one reason or another was responsible for all of the supposed incidents over the years? Or do you think the explanation is more sinister, and everything that happened to her was really done by someone else, which was worsened by the fact that she was then gaslit about what was going on? I'm curious to hear your thoughts down in the comments.
I don't know. I think maybe she was troubled, but maybe she also had a stalker. I think maybe like I don't know. That was a crazy case. That was wow. What an insane tale. I'm kind of glad we listened to that. That was wow. That was creepy. That was very creepy. I have no idea what happened. I'm kind of on the fence about this, but I'm more inclined to think maybe she was just really troubled. And things just got too much for her and she ended everything. But that's just, what a crazy story. What a crazy story. Okay, we're gonna go to our main video now. From Legendary Drops. This is a video that Asmongold found and reacted to, but he put it in the description of his video. So I grabbed the original video and we're gonna take a look at it because I got into a bunch of trouble the other day with my video about Ubisoft and Prince of Persia winning the Accessibility Award. And then this video dropped about this might be the end for Ubisoft. So I want to cover it and take a look at it and see what it's about and kind of also provide my thoughts on it on things from maybe an accessibility standpoint. So let's take a listen.
Silence your critics, lie to your fans, double down on poor decisions, ignore feedback. What's that? This is a big bag of feedback. We don't need that. And then virtue signal from your C-suite office. That is the Ubisoft plan for success. That's to get them right back on track.
I feel like this is very much topical for my rant about how Prince of Persia shouldn't have won the accessibility award, and how they said that they were the most accessible video game in that category, and that accessibility was tokenized and used as a virtue signal to push their video game. It's almost as if I'm what's the word? Right about that?
I am floored. I can't believe it. You know, everything that they've done, every action they've taken, everything that they have said has only dug their grave even deeper. At this point, they're just diving in, and honestly, I can't even really blame them. You know, I had hoped that after all of the bad press surrounding Ubisoft, with the failed launch of Star Wars Outlaws, them pushing back Assassin's Creed Shadows, that they...
And again, Star Wars Outlaws, that's another game that they claim is accessible. I wonder what the accessibility features in Star Wars Outlaws are. We'll look that up afterwards.
We would try to figure out ways to be able to trend in the right direction. And then I thought to myself, why would they do that? I mean, come on. Now we have industry analysts that are predicting that Ubisoft is going to go private and then sell off their biggest IPs. And to be...
Ouch. Could you imagine if that happened? That would be insane.
To be honest with you, they're probably not very far off. A lot has happened with Ubisoft since we last talked about them. And at this point, their graceless downfall has turned into nothing but pure cinema. Ubisoft, once a titan of the gaming industry, is now a cautionary tale of what happens when a company loses touch with its audience, its vision, and becomes so top-heavy that their only recourse is to squeeze their customers for all they're worth.
But God forbid you point any of that out and say that something like accessibility is being used as a token and being used as a virtue signal. No, don't point that out, because that's a bad thing.
This is a story that we have chronicled before, a company plagued by scandals, internal dysfunction, and creative stagnation. In my video...
Yas? Would I like a garden salad? Sure. Can you take this plate back, though? Mm-hmm. It's empty.
Okay.
Video, the complete and utter collapse of Ubisoft, we retraced all of their obsessions with their annualized franchises like Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, and Far Cry. Once their crown jewels, now their Achilles heel.
I wish those games... there are so many games that I wish I could play, but I can't because they're just not accessible. If there was one game, like if I got a freaking donation right now that was, and I had the ability to buy one game, would you guys rather watch me play Diablo, or would you guys rather watch me play Last of Us Part 2?
By recycling mechanics,
I think Diablo would get
titles,
more
becoming
content.
increasingly more predatory with their monetization and refusing to innovate, Ubisoft alienated their once loyal player base that could no longer stomach mediocrity. But their problems weren't just creative, they were systemic. As I pointed out, in Ubisoft lost more than they're worth, the company has been hemorrhaging money, losing key developers and chasing trends instead of setting them. They gambled on live service games and large projects that nobody asked for, sinking resources into games like the long-delayed Skull and Bones, a game that has now become an industry punchline. They lost it all on Star Wars Outlaws, only selling 1 million copies and then further embarrassing themselves with a release on Steam.
1 million copies only sold for Star Wars Outlaws? Holy fuck. That is brutal. That is absolutely
closed the studio
brutal.
behind Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, arguably the best game that they've had in recent times, just because they overcharged for it. Add to that workplace scandals and allegations of toxic leadership, and it's no surprise that Ubisoft has seen waves of talent departures and plummeting investor confidence. Despite the warning signs of their games failing to reach audiences, Ubisoft seemed unwilling or unable to change. They clung to outdated design philosophies and tone-deaf marketing strategies.
And virtue signaling, like, hey, we're going to make this game and we're going to call it accessible, but we're not going to make it as accessible as other video games that have won awards.
Advertising shareholder appeasement over player satisfaction while accomplishing nothing. Literally nothing. And while other companies in the industry have found ways to pivot or regain their footing, Ubisoft has dug their heels in, spiraling further into irrelevance. Fast forward to today, and the cracks in the foundation have split wide open. The struggles that we've talked about before are no longer cracks in their armor, they are gaping wounds. Just recently, Ubisoft announced the closure of 2 studios, another devastating blow to their workforce and morale. And then there's X-Defiant, a game that was supposed to show that Ubisoft could still compete in the realm of military shooters, instead becomes yet another entry in their growing list of failures.
This is unfortunate, because like he said, Ubisoft used to have such good titles. Like, I would have loved to be able to play Far Cry or Rainbow Six or any of those games. Like, that would have been so
Van
fun.
Duren, business professor and former CEO and co-founder of Super Data Research, a games marketing research company, is predicting that Ubisoft is headed for privatization and dismantling in 2025. Saying, with the share prices plummeting from $28.19 to $12.30 year over year, the company
let's buy stock in Ubisoft quickly.
Has become an attractive takeover target. Its valuable assets, particularly Rainbow Six Siege and the Assassin's Creed franchise, could be worth more separately than together. Now, something I want to be crystal clear on is that Ubisoft is essentially powerless. In the videos that I had made previously, I was just basically stating that the Titanic had hit the iceberg. They were already taking on water. The ship was sinking. Their only options right now are to save their valuables and try to salvage what's left.
Yeah.
That's the position that they're in right now. You know, in a lot of cases, we talk about how difficult it is for some of these really top-heavy companies to be able to turn things around because it takes a while for them to do so. But we don't ever get to study a company that can't turn around. And that's the position that Ubisoft is in. And honestly, that's what makes this so fascinating.
They really, there's nothing they can do at the moment to turn around. They have done so much damage with all of these different like the closures. Like, I didn't know that they had to close 2 more studios. That's crazy.
You know, when I had made the video talking about how Ubisoft had lost more than they're worth, I meant it. Truly, I meant it. They have had too many games that they've released that came out to subpar reception or failed completely, and they spent way too much money on it. And on top of that, the company has too many employees to support.
So that's what he means by they're too top heavy. They have too many people to pay and then not enough people buying their games.
Do people even understand that this company has over 20,000 employees working for them?
Holy shit.
Massive. When you're making as much money as they are right now, that is not enough to support that many people.
No.
I mean, even if Assassin's Creed Shadows found success, let's say 5 million copies, that's a conventional success in gaming. That's not too bad. That would cover their development costs and marketing costs. And then outside of that, not really a whole lot else.
No.
They would need a Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Ring level of success. We're talking 10 plus million copies sold for them to make a profit on this game. And then even still, it's not going to cover up any of the mistakes that they've made with their other games.
That's how bad it is. They could sell 10 million copies and it still wouldn't matter. That's insane.
With all of the money that they've invested into Skull and Bones or Star Wars Outlaws or anything else for that matter. And then keep in mind that their next games to release after this are much, much further down the road. We're talking years that they're going to have to survive on that money.
Mm-hmm.
Assassin's Creed Shadows is not going to sell that much.
No.
For you,
especially after all of the controversy surrounding it. It's just not going to sell.
Ubisoft to be able to patch the hole and get to shore, it's an impossible task. They're not going to be able to do it. But if they did, it would be one of gaming's biggest turnarounds.
Yeah,
but to do that, it would require leadership.
That would be like a comeback when you're in a fighting game and you've got like 5 pixels of health left and you make the comeback. Like, that's what that would be like.
Strong leadership. But in this case, the captain is just heading for the next iceberg. Following the bad press surrounding Ubisoft, the delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows, and the failed launch of Star Wars Outlaws, you would think that the company would try to remain low profile, not make any waves, and not do anything to rock the boat any further. Disregarding all sense of caution, common sense, and reality for that matter, Ubisoft launched Champions Tactics Grimoria Chronicles, a tactical turn-based player versus player RPG. The gameplay markets as tactical play to win. This NFT game would see you buy and sell tactical play to win. This NFT game would see you buy and sell character pieces, earning cryptocurrency in the game that you could.
They are not doing an NFT game. No way. Oh my god.
And turn into heroes, and then you could sell that for real money. The common line of garbage that we normally get with these kind of games, or at least what they try to sell to their coped out audiences. But Ubisoft was selling characters for upwards of $63,000. And to the dismay of many playing the game in true Ubisoft fashion, it was broken at launch with claims of cheaters and exploiters. While Ubisoft tiptoed around their NFT game, Ubisoft's head of Assassin's Creed Shadows held back nothing when it came back to tackling the ongoing discussions about forced representation and the influence of diversity, equity, and inclusion in video games. This has been a major point of contention for potential players and fans of Assassin's Creed, as this is the first game to be set in Japan. A fitting setting for the franchise, but the game's main protagonist isn't Japanese. Assassin's Creed boss Mark Alexis Cote responded to player pushback saying, Assassin's Creed has always been about exploring the full spectrum of human history, and by its very nature, that history is diverse. Staying true to history means embracing the richness of the human perspective without compromises. For example, in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we highlight figures both fictional like Naue, a Japanese woman warrior, and historical like Yasuke, the African-born samurai. While the inclusion of a black samurai in feudal Japan has sparked questions and even controversy, Naue, a fictional character, has also faced scrutiny for her gender. But just as Yasuke's presence in Japanese history is fact, so too are the stories of women who defined societal expectations and took up arms in times of conflict. Holy gaslight, Batman. I don't think I've seen anybody strawman this hard. I don't think I've seen any backlash regarding Naue. A Japanese female ninja is pretty fitting for a setting like this, and I'll be honest with you, if she was the main and only protagonist, I don't think people would be complaining nearly as much. I personally do not understand the inconsistency of the messaging here. First, you want to say it's rooted in history, then you want to say it's fiction, then you want to say you want to make a fictional character historic. I just don't understand why you keep trying to justify it. Why don't you just say we made Yasuke because, well, we thought it would be entertaining and it's what we wanted to make?
That's a good point. That's a good point. But I have seen a lot of different videos, including from Birdman, that does talk about how Yasuke did exist and was an actual historical figure. So
rather than making it sound like it's some type of noble cause. First, they claim the game is rooted in history, yet pivot to emphasizing fictional elements while defending their creative choices. Then they blur the lines even further by trying to represent a fictional character, Naue, as a part of some broader historical narrative. It's as if they're trying to have it both ways.
Yeah, this is the problem with the intersectionality crap. This is the problem with... This is why I say intersectionality is cancer. Because everybody wants everything to be everywhere, every way at the same time. And it just can't work that way. There's no possible way that everything can be everything at the same time.
Asserting historical authenticity when it suits them while falling back on fiction when it doesn't. If the decision to include Yasuke was genuinely creative or thematic, then why not just own it? Say we wanted Yasuke because we thought it added something unique to the story.
That's what they should say, and that's what I thought they were saying.
That would make it feel far more honest than trying to dress it up as some noble endeavor to try to highlight diversity. The over-justification doesn't reinforce the decision. It just makes it feel disingenuous, as though They're anticipating the backlash rather than simply standing for their creative vision. Cote would go on to further justify their actions, saying, "This echoes the selfless bravery of our Assassin's Creed protagonists. They fought for freedom, knowledge, and the right to chart their own paths, just as we do as creators. Fight to tell stories that matter in a world that grows increasingly divided. As the authors of How Democracies Die so powerfully stated, democracies crumble when good people decide to stay silent."
Oh, please stop. Please stop politicizing your video games. It's a video game franchise. Just please build a good, entertaining product and stop with the politics.
The same is true, I think, of our creative freedom when we allow fear to stifle our voices, when we self-censor in the face of threats, when we hand over our power piece by piece until freedom and creativity both wither away. We cannot let that happen. It's time for us creators to stand firm in our commitment to our values by telling stories that inspire, that challenge, and help people to connect. Our silence.
Dude, it's a video game. You're not a fucking evangelist preacher. It's a video game. Holy Christ.
Cannot become complicit.
Jesus.
This man deserves an Emmy. I am dying here. Please help. Cote is suggesting that criticism or backlash is akin to self-censorship, implying that questioning their creative choices is the same as threatening their freedom to create. But criticism is not censorship.
You can't, no. Criticism, absolutely. If somebody comes in here and says blind press, I find your reactions very boring. Can you, like, figure out a way to make it better? I'm not going to sit there and be like, you're stifling my creativity. I'll try to figure out a way to make it less boring. Like, you know what I mean? There's a difference.
Players are pointing out inconsistencies, questioning decisions, and expressing dissatisfaction for a product that they're expected to pay for, and that's not an existential threat to your creative freedom. It's feedback. Treating critique as a form of oppression is not only disingenuous, but it's actively dismissing the audience's role in this process.
Yes. The audience's job is to give feedback. It's the job of people in your audience to tell you, hey, this game is good. Hey, this game is crap. Hey, here's where this game needs to be fixed. Like with Diablo 4, for example. They didn't start out with navigation assist and loot drop notifications, but they listened to the fan base and put it in with the Vessel of Hatred expansion. That is listening to your fan base. That's listening to your feedback.
The invocation of How Democracies Die is especially egregious. It conflates real-world political and social crisis with the act of creating entertainment products.
Yeah.
It's appealing to authority, using the weight of academic work to justify your inclusion of specific characters or narratives in a damn video game.
Yeah, come on, dude. It's not that deep. You're making a product for people to escape into. Nobody wants their video games jammed full of politics. Like, literally, nobody wants that. So why are we pretending that that's what we want? Okay, I'm gonna quickly do a bathroom break and then I'll be right back. Share the stream while I'm gone. I'm gonna return my plate to the kitchen and go to the bathroom. So I'll be right back. we're back and we're going to continue on with this video.
But the game is not democracy, nor is it a battleground for your lofty ideals. It is a product designed for entertainment and for sale. And that's where the root of player concerns are right now. This is a product designed to be purchased for entertainment. And
nobody wants to buy a product that's going to preach to them about democracy dying or politics being like, nobody cares. Nobody cares about the politics in the video game. They just want to play the damn video game. They want to escape. This is what you want to
use it for. And then when we find out that this game is reportedly being worked on by a staff comprised of people who nearly half of them have never even made a game before, with some of them believing that it is the worst game ever, and your only response to players' concerns is your nobility and the belief that you're some freedom fighter?
Get fucked. You are no freedom fighter. You're a video game developer.
It only helps to prove that this game, regardless of its delay, will have Yasuke being the least of players' concerns.
Yeah.
They're burying the lead. When I see a developer that is this wrapped up in their own social politics, I see it as a mining canary, that they are ignoring what they need to be paying attention to, which is making sure that they're making a game that players are actually going to enjoy.
Yeah. And this is what I'm talking. This is why when I was talking about how Prince of Persia shouldn't have won the video game award, I didn't say like it. I'm not saying that the accessibility features it has don't help people with certain disabilities. What I'm saying is that they don't offer as many options as other video games that could have been mentioned, and it that doesn't mean that it's not an accessible game. It means that it's not as accessible as it could be. And I have a right to point that out. And I have a right to say that it's not okay to have that accessibility be tokenized and used as a selling point for your video game.
They're not paying attention to gameplay. They think they're writing a stage play. And I think that's what has a lot of players, a lot of customers that are genuinely upset and sick of a lot of these studios and many of their executives.
Yes.
This kind of speech that Kote is using only serves to alienate the players even further, because he's taking the conversation to a moral high ground that is so high the elevation is likely to make you sick.
Yeah. He's pedestalizing the nobility of politics in video games, which is just, there's no need for that.
Players are not rejecting creativity, diversity, or meaningful storytelling. They are pushing back against pretension.
Yeah.
And their critiques of a product being compared to assaults on fundamental freedoms.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm being. When I critiqued Prince of Persia, I was basically policed into the ground because I said one word. Like, and my whole message was lost because I said one word, and it was like, this is ridiculous. You can't act like that when somebody provides feedback.
I think that's the most frustrating part about all of this, is that it's so easy to see that community concerns, player concerns, customer concerns are being purposefully ignored. This is patented intellectual dishonesty. And because of that, the players and the customers feel disrespected. And this is just a piece of advice that I'm going to give, but when players feel that way, they're not going to buy your games.
No.
I don't think that I've ever...
Customers won't buy your games if they feel like they're going to be preached at and yelled at and told how shit they are just because they don't agree with your politics in your game.
Seen a company so thoroughly and completely gaslight themselves as much as Ubisoft has.
No.
And they're good at it. And that's just the state of the company today. Now, following the abysmal launch of Star Wars Outlaws, the game reportedly only captured 1 million copies sold. In an act of self-inflicted financial devastation, the company has chose to stay true to its plans to continue to support the game with more updates, reworks, and changes.
What changes and reworks? I wonder, like I said, we're going to take a look and research what accessibility features are in Star Wars Outlaws to get it nominated
Julian Garrity, the
for a
creative
Game
director,
Award.
said, I'm a little disappointed with the Metacritic. Recognition from the critics is very important to us, but I do think that players are really connecting with what we did. We had a very ambitious target. We literally reached for the stars, and I think that we were successful from so many different angles.
You sold 1 million copies. How successful could you be?
There's a magical, unique experience within Outlaws, whether it's Star Wars or not. Now, I want to pause there for a moment before I continue because
shouldn't the magical experience in a Star Wars game be Star Wars? Like, isn't that the whole point of a Star Wars game?
Worrying about the critics is exactly what got Ubisoft into the position it's in today.
Yes.
As I go throughout this interview, they mostly end up talking about how they're still working hard on the game's story expansions as well as improving the base game. However, I can't help but feel as though this is just an exercise in futility more than anything else, and they would be better off refunding players who bought the Season Pass content and just cutting ties with the game. I wish that companies would stop being so ambitious about the future of their game and focus on the present. What is the point of committing yourselves to future plans if you have no idea whether or not players are going to even play your game in the first place?
That's a good question. If you don't know if your players even care about the game itself, why would you make future plans for
When
it?
Elden Ring was announced, I don't think that there was any mention of additional content that would come in the future.
No.
While there were hints and assumptions, we never got confirmation until after the game had released and garnered success.
Well, that makes sense. You don't want to have future plans for a game if it's not going to be successful. So, of course, they waited till the game was released and was successful.
I mean, Ubisoft announced back in September that Massive, the studio behind Star Wars Outlaws, would be moving over to start work on Division 3, the series that studio is loved for, which has already gone into pre-production. From my perspective, given the sales of Star Wars Outlaws and its tepid reception when it released on Steam, wouldn't it be a better idea to go all hands on deck with an IP that you know players want and you know that studio has the most experience with?
Yes.
It just doesn't make any sense, not from a customer perspective or from a business perspective. However, lately, Ubisoft isn't known for having the brightest ideas. I mean, they just convinced themselves that Skull and Bones is a worthwhile investment, and they are telling players in the media that they will turn it around in the next season.
Which I've never even heard of that game, Skull and Bones. I've never even heard of it.
Now that I think about it, that sounds oddly familiar. Ubisoft coming out to reassure players and the industry that contrary to popular belief, one of their games is actually healthy and has a bright future. Oh, wait, that's right, X-Defiant. Just a few months ago, Mark Rubin, the head of X-Defiant, wrote a blog post and a summary of their Year 1 roadmap for the game, and in it, he took the time to take on Insider Gaming's claims that the game was living on borrowed time. Rubin had said, I just want to quickly address the status of the game, i.e., is the game dying? No, the game is absolutely not dying. We know that there are things we need to improve, like netcode and hit registration. And
I'm sorry, if your netcode is still bad after the game's release, that's a problem. Like, I know shit about shit, and I know that if your netcode isn't working after release and your hit registration isn't working after release, that's big issues.
Adding more content to progression, but the game is doing well. We just wanted to do better, and we do that by addressing the concerns of the community, which has always been the plan. Ubisoft is very much behind us and is...
Outlaws has a really pathetic excuse for a nav assist. All it is a verbal navigation cue that doesn't help with anything at all except being frustrating. Skull and Bones was supposed to be a pirating game that competes with Sea of Thieves, but it crashed hard. I liked the first Division game, but they ruined the way I played and heavily nerfed what I did to make so it made it unplayable. Well, that sucks. So if you guys wanted to watch me play other games besides Mortal Kombat, would you rather see me play The Last of Us Part 2 or Diablo 4?
Has allocated more resources to the team in order for us to do that. Only for 2 months later for Mark Rubin to go on Twitter and announce that X-Defiant will shut down and services will end on June 3rd, 2025. Rubin goes on to talk about how the game was a passion project, how difficult it is to get a live service game off the ground, and more. What I find really interesting is this section where Mark says, if there's something I hope we can take away from this experience, it's the importance of open, honest communication between developers and players. The player-first mentality, along with respectful, non-toxic conversations between developers and players, has been one of the standout.
Okay, but you can't consider somebody criticizing you as being toxic, game developers.
Differences that made XDefiant so special. From my first post about XDefiant, this was the vision I wanted to champion.
Yeah, I feel like Diablo 4 would offer more return on investment.
I hope it leaves a positive mark on how the games industry treats its players and communities. Yet, none of that ever actually happened. There was no honest communication or a player-first mentality when it came to XDefiant or any other Ubisoft game for that matter.
No.
While the game had issues, serious core issues with netcode and hit registration.
Yeah, those are some serious issues. How do you expect people to play your game if your netcode is fucked up?
Things that are quite literally the backbone of a first-person shooter experience. That didn't stop Ubisoft from adding more microtransactions or season passes.
Oh, of course
Instead, the money printer kept printing while the issues kept pushing players out of the game. While Ubisoft plans to refund the players that had purchased the Ultimate Edition of the game and auto-refunded microtransactions that were purchased within the last month, there are still plenty of players that are left hung out to dry.
That is so bullshit. Like, why would you even put in more microtransactions if your game is that shit?
I think that this is the crux of the whole issue with Ubisoft and many other companies.
Sadly, TLOU2 started this whole movement this video is talking about. It did, and that's the shitty part, is that Naughty Dog, with its accessibility and its trying to make things inclusive, started this whole like intersectionality bullshit where you like everybody wants everything to work exactly the specific way, and then when you point out something's not working for a specific group and therefore doesn't make it a fully accessible game, you get shit on for it.
They're so caught up in their own personal identity politics, personal politics, actual politics, social politics, and all the different ways that they can make money off of games that they have lost sight of the fact that they are providing a service and a product to customers. Technical and quality issues, or even just the vision of a well-made game that players will actually enjoy, is eclipsed by how they can commoditize, monetize, and use their games as a soapbox. While I definitely think that there's a problem with egos within the industry, I think that this mentality with a lot of these companies is born from the fact that they're publicly traded. They have fiduciary responsibilities. They need to make money for their investors. But I also think that it's a symptom of a much larger issue.
It is. And the larger issue is that everybody thinks that they need to be political in order to make
too much
money.
Investment and too much inorganic growth. Many of the biggest publishers and studios in the industry are now incentivized by the sheer size of their organization and the number of their employees to make their games more expensive, to fill them with microtransactions, and to create things of lower quality. They need to make as much money as they possibly.
The pay to win stuff is really causing an issue, and video game developers love the pay to win because it gives them more money. People will dump their money into the microtransactions because they want to continue to play the game.
We can for a minimum viable product just to be able to keep their heads above water. They can't take creative risks. They can't create niche experiences. They can't make games that have their own identity because they need everybody to be interested in that game. They can't remove or limit monetization because, well, they need as much money as possible. So they bloat their single player games with useless content to urge casual players to buy solutions in the form of microtransactions for problems that they created. Ubisoft as a company is a case study for this industry and where it is headed. They aren't alone in this issue. They're not alone in this race. And while games media and CEOs will happily blame toxic gamers for the issues of these companies or say
toxic gamers, how dare those toxic gamers demand a playable video game? right? How dare the toxic gamers demand something that's actually enjoyable?
That the reason why games are failing is because of steep competition. They deny reality the same as Ubisoft. Your games are boring, they're buggy, repetitive, and too expensive. We don't need you, but you need us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They that's the thing. They're like right now I'm stuck on a Last of Us Part 1 in the Left Behind section where there's a queue that says I should push triangle, but it's not working and my friend keeps dying. And I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to fix it at all.
And that becomes more apparent by the day as we see more games fail and more studios close. Remember who you're working for, or you might not be working much longer. You know, something that I've noticed, and I'm sure a few of you guys have seen this as well, is that art styles, themes, colors, characters, stories, even music at times has started to kind of blend together with some of these games. However, the most popular games, the games that have gotten some of the best sales and some of the best player Feedback and retention and all that good stuff, player appreciation, customer appreciation, are games that are incredibly distinct. If I look at like Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate or Path of Exile 2.
I wish Baldur's Gate was accessible and Path of Exile was accessible. Like, those are some games that I really wish that I could play, because I want to play other games. Like, I love my fighting games. I grew up playing fighting games. That's how I got into gaming. But I want to try to play other games.
Or any of these games, they end up standing out because they just don't look like or play like or sound like anything else that's out there. But if I take a game just as an example, like Dragon Age, and I rip off the
Your friend isn't dying, your friend's getting their neck made out with. Oh, right. The zombies are coming in and getting and eating my friend. Yes.
EA and the BioWare logo, and then you tell me who made that game. Epic? Activision? I don't know. Like, they all start to look the same after a while.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they're all just chasing each other's tails. That's really all it ends up being. They look to see what the other big company is doing, and they say, oh, we're going to do that too. Mm-hmm. And that's their big, great idea that they, bring forth to their boards.
But the shitty part is in parts where they could do that, and parts where they could utilize what other companies are doing, like, for example, in accessibility, they don't. They don't use ideas like with Last of Us. They don't share ideas like that, but instead they share the woke ideas, the political ideas.
In the pursuit of growing, they lost their identity.
Yes.
And it made them unable to stand out in front of other studios and other games. And as a result, they needed to make even more money, but they then continued to hire people. And as their companies grew larger and they had more money, well, then they needed to monetize their games and price their games higher. So what are you left with? You're left with overpriced, over-monetized, and boring games that fail to stand out amongst the rest of the competition out in the market right now. That's why games are failing. That's why you're not making any money. That's why the games that you're putting out aren't finding an audience, because there's other games that stand out much better, are much more original, and value our time and money in a way that you just don't anymore. And
yeah, that's true. Like, it feels like the customer, the player of the game, is no longer the top priority of game developers.
It's also because you can't, because it really does come down to just how big these companies are. They don't have time to think about what the customer needs. They can only think about what they need right now. And fact of the matter is, you just don't have what it takes to be able to compete in a creative industry anymore. Because this cold corporate approach just doesn't work here.
No, it doesn't.
Simple as that.
Nobody wants the cold corporate approach. Nobody wants the major megacorp video game. They want an actual story that they can play and enjoy.
You're selling products based on people's wants, not their needs. You can't just do anything you want to what you're selling to us. That's just not how this works.
No.
Sorry. Ubisoft has taken too many L's. They've had too many games that have failed. and they don't have enough games to give a positive outlook, not only for their investors, but just in general for keeping the company afloat, keeping your employees paid.
Yeah.
Because if we actually sit back and look at every single game that they've failed on and how much those games cost them, well, that's all going on the background against any of the games that actually have succeeded, which is basically none for quite a while now outside of Valhalla. And that was back in, was like 2018, 2020
Jesus
or 2019,
Christ,
something like that.
Valhalla was that long ago? That's crazy. I didn't realize that.
It's been a few years since then, and it's not enough money to float all of the poor decisions that they've made. Nor is, what is it called? Rainbow Six. Rainbow Six isn't making enough money
or games that are pay to win
to be able to keep the entire company afloat. I brought it up earlier in the video. They have over 20,000 employees. They have offices all around the world.
Yeah.
And even though people are in games, games media are like, they've laid off 300 employees. Oh, and it's just like, they have 20,000.
Yeah, 300 employee layoff out of 20,000. Not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Like, how are you paying for that? No wonder your investors are leaving. They're like, there's just no way that this company's going to be able to backpedal out of this. Their only choice, literally, their only choice is to go private and then sell their IPs. So I'm saying their only choice. I'm saying the owners. That's the only thing the owners can do to be able to make money for themselves, because honestly, that's likely the road that they're going to end up wanting to take. I would imagine that
the fact that the stock is now $12 is insane.
Tencent is probably on the opposite side of that, where they don't want the company to shut down. They want to keep it up. They want to keep the employees there because they want to make the games. They probably think that they could do a better job at getting the company to produce at the level it should be producing at. I mean, take that however you want. I know people have a lot of thoughts on Tencent. I get it. You know, I'm not really a huge fan of corporate takeovers, but to be honest with you, a lot of the companies that Tencent has their fingers in don't really perform all that badly. So, I don't know. This is just ridiculous. I can only predict that there will be more videos at one point in time. I'm not sitting here trying to like farm these guys every single day. I don't really want to do that. I just wait until there's enough to talk about. This is more than I thought I was going to end up having to talk about. They've cinema.
They've just caused so much damage. It's so much damage to themselves, and it's crazy. It is absolutely insane to just look at how much damage Ubisoft has done to itself in the last few years. It's nuts. It's nuts. Alright, I was just sent some more things to look at, so let's pull those up here. And while I'm doing that, there are 4 people here. And there is an $80 stream goal. So if each of you sent in $20, we could meet the stream goal. The link is pinned in the description and in the chat. The Neil Druckmann picture that broke the internet. Who's Neil Druckmann? Who is this? Let's take a look at this video and see. I have no idea who Neil Druckmann is.
A picture has surfaced from the creator of Stellar Blade.
Oh, Neil Druckmann is the creator of Stellar Blade. Okay, thank you, V.
Sitting next to Neil Druckmann. And everyone is losing their minds over it. It's been posted a couple of minutes ago, and it's already got like 300,000 views. It's like, people are like, have we been deceived? So if you don't know who these two people are, Neil Druckmann is the creator of The Last of Us.
Okay. He's okay. Now I know. Now I know who this guy is. Okay.
And in creators of leftist gaming circles, he's viewed like the Messiah, like Muad'Dib. He is the one that went woke and didn't go broke.
And that's the problem with, like, because This is where I find myself in a position of finding myself in this weird position of I enjoyed the Last of Us game. I enjoyed that I could play through it by myself without it being like, because it was accessible. But I do see how like the creators of it are incredibly crazy woke people.
He is the hallmark of a lot of AAA games, and actually I would say that he is extremely influential because a lot of games have tried copying The Last of Us in gameplay mechanics, like over-the-shoulder bullshit with a little bit of crafting and that type of gameplay.
And but the thing is that they don't take the accessibility cues for any of this stuff. They don't take the accessibility cues from The Last of Us. They just take the bullshit mechanics.
A lot of consultants were like, "Oh, wow, I mean, this game sold, so clearly we must copy it." And so, like, yeah, like he is the head honcho of woke games. He is the chosen one that will drag society from the darkness into a new era of progressivism using his video games. He will stop misogyny. He will stop racismus. Everyone will convert to Islam. Like, he's the shit, right?
See, and this is why I feel like I feel like a dirty centrist here, because I'm just dealing with how much I enjoyed the actual gameplay of The Last of Us with its accessibility, and then knowing all of this information.
And we're all going to be clear. Now, on the left side, we have Mr. Kim Hyung Tae, creative and illustrator at Shift Up. I know he was involved with Stellar Blade. I don't know if he's involved with Nikkei. But he wields the power of tits and ass.
Okay.
He creates the thing that traumatizes the act man. He's like, oh, so much gooning. Melody Mac quakes in fear at the sight of this man. He is the shaitan. He is the devil incarnate, bringing upon the destruction of Western civilization, turning away Christians everywhere to sin. You know, even the Pope probably would pale in front of this man. Like, if he installs Nikkei on the Vatican, on the Holy See's computer, he could cause such devastation that would bring Melody back into tears. She would be like, how is this possible? Why is this happening? Drachman, I should have not criticized you.
This is what I mean. Like, I don't know how to respond to this, because I don't this feels a little bit too
like
right.
Your bold ladies.
Right as in on the right side.
What does this picture mean? Absolutely nothing. Okay, they're not joining forces. They're not allying with each other. I mean, I think it would be beyond moronic, but also funny if we had characters from The Last of Us appear in a Nikkei crossover event. It would be hilarious, because they would actually make Abby have big tits. And so, like, you know what?
Who's Abby? Do you mean Ellie? I think he means Ellie.
While I don't think it would happen, do you remember when some Asian company had a crossover with Horizon Zero Dawn and actually made that chick look appealing, right? Like, this is what would look like if we had crossovers between The Last of Us or the new game that's being made and Nikkei. The opposite, I don't fucking know. I don't think Neil Druckmann can do crossovers. Like, his games probably don't allow that, but, like, you know, imagine if you could play as Eve from Stellar Blade, and she would have, like, a very masculine jawline, she would have no tits, she would be covered up, and you would have her in a patch for the new game that's coming, you know, like a new skin or something. I don't think that's the case, right? It would be funny, though. Like, I would like to see it. I think a lot of people would lose their mind. I think, like, people on my side that are anti-censorship would have no problem with it.
The anti-censorship people would think it was hilarious. The anti-censorship people would have a huge laugh about it.
find it like a meme. But people on the left would lose their shit.
Abby is part 2. Oh, okay. See, I don't have part 2. I just
which
have
is
part
why
1.
I support it. They would absolutely lose their minds.
Because part 2 is fucking $60, and I don't want to spend $60.
If
I don't have $60.
Builder of the ass titty and bringer of heteronormativity, would actually collaborate with Neil Druckmann. Can they have like influential game designs? This is another thing that people are talking about. Like, will we see The Last of Us, the Neil Druckmann mentality pushed into Stellar Blade?
That's right, because there's The Last of Us No Return. I think that's the new game that's coming out, right? The Last of Us No Return, I think is what it's called.
I'd like to see a sex scene like we have in The Last of Us 2, but in Stellar Blade. Can you imagine? Like, of course Sony would ban it. But like, it would be like a frame-by-frame recreation, like exactly what's happening to Abby. Frame-by-frame, recreated in the game Stellar Blade. I mean, why not? If The Last of Us 2 can have it on PlayStation, why can't Stellar Blade, huh? Well, we know why, but still.
Yeah.
It would be interesting. I don't think so. I don't think, like, Shift Up is going to apply ESG. I think the Korean government would fucking prevent them.
They probably would. The Koreans probably wouldn't want a sex scene in their game market.
They are making such colossal revenue and bringing Korean soft power into the world that I genuinely think like the Korean government would probably try to intervene and prevent them from doing some stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
Korea is very happy, like, despite the fact that they had like feminist policies and they cracked down on gamers, like.
Oh, okay. So it's like The Last of Us No Return is that like The Last of Us Left Behind that I'm doing right now? Except it's in part 2 instead of part 1. I got it now.
From what I'm hearing, they're actually very happy with this because it's a lot of taxpayer money, and there's a lot of money to be given to politicians and then. Through corruption and like other things. It's like, no, they want this company to succeed. And so them going ESG, probably not. Neil Druckmann, I think, is way too arrogant, and the type of people that he employs would riot if he actually had like a feminine character in his video game. And so, no, like, there's not going to be any collaboration between these two. It's just like a picture that two professionals took while being at an event. If anything, you need to understand that Asian people are very polite, right? So, like, they wouldn't say anything negative. You wouldn't have Kim say, oh, yeah, Intergalactic was utter shit. I didn't like...
No, it's just not... That's not how they work. It just doesn't work that way.
The way they depict women, like, what the fuck is that? You know, like, he's just not going to speak like that. And to be honest, even Western developers wouldn't speak like that.
No.
I am curious though if Neil Druckmann likes Stellar Blade or if he likes Nikkei, right? Because like that would be polite, but he would probably get chewed up by his own fan base.
Yes, he probably would.
Still, I'm curious if it happens. Like, if anyone sees Neil Druckmann tweet something positive about South Korean gaming, please let me know. It would show who's the man in the room, right? Like, it would be very disrespectful if one developer goes like, hey, I like your game, and the other one is quiet.
Yeah, that would be very disrespectful. That would be incredibly, like, saying, you know, hey, I really like your game, and somebody just ignoring that. That would be
incredibly poor form, but at the same time, it would probably confirm everything that I think about Neil Druckmann, and also everything that I think about people who are more left-leaning than I am. But other than that, no, I don't think we're going to see more collabs from these two. It's kind of funny to see people arguing in the comment section over this, or like trying to suggest that something major will happen. Like, no. You know, most developers do not give a shit about the culture war.
No, well, most good developers... Most good developers don't give a shit about the culture war. We just watched a whole video on Ubisoft and how they give a shit about the culture
maybe
war.
Western developers do. That the ones that think they will change the world with the power of their gaming. Like, those are just... You know, if they say it for PR reasons, fine. But I think, like, some of them actually believe their farts. And so it's a little bit...
Oh, it's a primarily gameplay mode with challenges. No story. Oh, that's what Baron's son plays when he does the defend your enemy challenges and stuff like that. Okay. I get it now.
But concerning about their mental health. But
I have a friend
no, like
in the
most
blind
developers
FGC,
just
he plays
want
The
to run
Last
a
of
business,
Us Part
right?
2 a lot, and I
Especially,
think
like,
he's doing that
you
mode.
see the turnover for the last game. The man is not into social justice. Doesn't give a fuck. The way he treated Debbie Henning and other shit, it's like, no. They just want to make money, right? So for them, this is a business relation. It's like, okay,
Yes.
now I know this developer. If I ever need something from him, I know where to call.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think we're gonna see any collaborations and stuff coming out, but that was an interesting little video that because I had no idea about that, and yeah, I had no idea about that picture. Obviously. Being not knowing it, not seeing that's the shitty part, is that a lot of the pictures, a lot of the screenshots and stuff that are talked about online, I can't read, so I miss out on all the fun stuff. I miss out on all the fun craziness. Speaking of fun craziness, the Shadows of Mercy book I've uploaded to KDP. The file is the book file is accepted, so that's good. And now I just have to figure out the book cover. So the book is scheduled to release in March in both print and Kindle. So print will be paperback and hardcover, and then Kindle. And I've checked, and the text-to-speech feature is enabled on it, which is good. So that will take the place of Audible. So that's the best I can do for my blind readers is do that for the Kindle version. So that's coming up. So hopefully that will be of interest to people. And let's see, we're gonna switch over to learn about a TikTok Disney cruise. Oh God, this just sounds terrifying. I'm scared of it. This TikTok Disney cruise situation. What TikTok Disney cruise situation? This sounds terrifying. And I also would like to remind you guys of the link in the pinned chat comment. If we get to the $80 stream goal, I will put on a hat and a mask for the rest of the stream. So let's take a listen to this video.
Today's video is going to be a little bit different because I don't know what my upload schedule is going to be like the next couple of days. It's my birthday this weekend. Might take a couple of days off.
Birthday.
So to make up for that, I thought instead of talk about one topic in today's video, let's talk about a few. Also, I do...
Oh, good. This is gonna be a multi-thing.
Because this is the first video I'm recording, I believe, since I did this, because I pre-record a few of these videos, but I did change my YouTube logo, and a few of you noticed in the comment section, and a few of you weren't very happy.
Is the screen reader version enabled on the Kindle version too? Text-to-speech and screen reader are two different things. Yes, it said screen reader mode enabled. It did say screen reader mode enabled, I checked.
I mean, apart from the people who thought I just made
the Kindle version, I've priced for $5, the paperback at $13, and the hardcover at $45 because of printing costs.
Canva, which I didn't. There was a lot of people just saying it's like kind of hard to really read what it said because obviously a YouTube like picture is pretty small, like the AVI.
The biggest question is the book in Braille. See, that I don't know how to get that translated into Braille. I want to get it put into Braille, but I don't know how to pay for the translation of that.
So I understand, right? I've changed it to something temporary for now, just a picture of my face, but I do realise a lot of people wanted me to keep the old picture. I've had that since 2017. All right?
Oh, wow.
It's time for a change. But with that being said, I am looking to get like a proper logo sorted for the channel, so if that is something that you're interested in, I've made an email address. It's markytlogo@gmail.com. I'll put the text on screen right now. If you want to send me any of your previous work, then please do. I'll have a look through and then maybe we can work together. Obviously, don't go out of your way of actually... We're going to be talking about cruises. It's been a while, I do realise that. But this is all coming from a TikTok account called... Oh god, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, aren't I? I'm going to assume it is Miriam Estrella. The Y threw me off, but I think that's how you pronounce it, right? So it's a TikToker called Miriam Estrella with 1.2 million followers. Okay. Now, Miriam is currently on a Disney cruise, and I believe she's only really been on it for like a few days at this point, but has already ran into a few problems. The first one being, as soon as she got on the ship, Disney told her that they were having to hold her luggage.
So yesterday... Okay. So Disney has this woman's luggage. Lovely.
We boarded the ship. We got a message saying, we're holding your luggage because there is something in there that shouldn't be in there. And they sent the same thing to my mom.
And then she goes on to explain why the luggage had been held and what items were not allowed to enter the ship for whatever reason.
My confiscated one was a steamer.
Your steamer? What, for your clothes? That's all I can imagine. Is it like you have a portable steamer for your clothes?
Because she has a medical device. The issue is that her electrical cord was confiscated, so they gave her a new one, but the one she brought, she was able to charge her phone. The one they gave her as a replacement, she can't charge her phone, so now we have only 2 chargers.
Yeah, I didn't realize that cruises were like that strict. Like,
they took away the phone charger? What the fuck? Why?
To the point where they will confiscate an electrical cord and give you a replacement one, but it's like a different kind. I never knew it was like that. But even way, the actual problem here is that when they actually...
This is why I will not go on... You will not catch me on cruises. No.
Confiscated the luggage. They ended up breaking Miriam's suitcase.
The issue is when they confiscated our suitcase, they ripped the whole wheel out. They didn't just rip it off. They ripped the whole wheel off, and there's a whole big hole in the suitcase where the wheel used to be. So the update we were waiting for is what... Are they just going to leave us with a suitcase with a hole and the wheel ripped off? Because I don't know about you, but suitcases are really fucking expensive nowadays.
Yeah, in a later video, Miriam explains that the luggage was $200, and at this point, she hadn't received...
Based on how she looks, I'm guessing food steamer.
...any solution, and we do get like a solution eventually.
That's fine.
It wasn't great at first.
Okay, so I had 2 items confiscated from my luggage and my mom's luggage, and when they brought our suitcases back, they broke our luggage. So now we're trying to figure out a solution for that. Their solution was a gift basket.
A gift basket? Also, why are you eating while you're doing this video? How about you put the food down and, like, clear your mouth of food before you start talking in your video?
And a $50 store credit to buy a $200 luggage. We said thank you for the gift basket. That's really nice. And thanks for the $50 of Disney credit. But your luggage is $200. So we're trying to still work on that.
Yeah, so from everything that I can tell as well, I believe it's like actually like a Disney suitcase that's been broken here. So surely the easy solution would be, let me replace it, you know?
Yeah, just let me replace the suitcase. Just give me a replacement suitcase and everything will be fine.
I'll give you a new suitcase. But no, apparently the first solution was a gift basket and $50 store credit. Yeah, I don't really understand that. But Miriam actually goes on to tell a different story that happened to a different guest on this cruise. And in hindsight, it looks like Miriam actually got a good deal because apparently this other person who's on the cruise found out that their luggage was on a different ship, and in return, they just got a few t-shirts to make up for it.
Their whole fucking suitcase with all their clothes is on a completely different ship, and Disney Cruises is like, oops, here's some shirts.
So while my luggage got destroyed, at least the contents of my stuff I still have. But someone else on board,
she can't
Disney,
put the fork down, it's a medical
their items,
issue.
all their luggage on another boat. So apparently all their stuff is on the Princess cruise ships.
And apparently what Disney did to help them was let them buy a couple of t-shirts, I think. And then
let them buy a couple of t-shirts? I would be like, here, have some actual clothes. We fucked up and put your clothes on the wrong ship.
No, I don't know the exact details. It's just the rumors going around the ship.
Okay, so they are rumors. Hopefully that isn't true, because if it is, that is absolutely insane. Like, can you imagine finding out that all your belongings are on a different ship? I don't know how long this cruise actually lasts, but either way, like, even if it's just a week at this point, that's still ridiculous. And
it is. How do they accidentally put the ship, the luggage on the wrong ship?
Just be told that you can get a few t-shirts and a swimsuit in return. That doesn't really make sense to me. But there is a somewhat happy ending to Miriam's story here, because she did end up getting a replacement luggage. Now, the problem is here, it was smaller luggage than what she actually had broken, and she no longer gets the $50 gift voucher.
So anyways, we basically were like, the $50 won't really get us too far. Is there anything else that you can do? And lo and behold, a very nice gentleman suited up in his white captain outfit. It wasn't the captain, it was just like a very nice crisp captain outfit. Came with the Disney Cruise Line luggage. It's very nice. It has the hard top like our old luggage. It is smaller though. And the other luggage was my partner's favorite luggage, but I said it is okay.
Yeah, and I mean, if we look at the comments here, someone has...
It's my partner's favorite luggage. Dude, at least you're getting a replacement luggage. How can you have a favorite piece of luggage? It's just a suitcase.
Commented saying the $50 credit was pretty lame. Did you also get to keep the credit after they give you the smaller luggage? And Miriam replied saying, of course not. So yeah, not exactly the most ideal replacement in the world, but it's better than just like a gift basket and $50 store credit, isn't it? No,
it is. It is much better. Like, you actually have luggage.
The situation that Miriam goes on to talk about is completely separate to the luggage, but this is like way worse, right? So Miriam explains that on her front door, she put a whiteboard there because this is a second cruise that she's been on, and she noticed on the first cruise that people did put like whiteboards or like they decorated the doors in whatever way, and she's now found out that someone has written all over it.
Never did I think I could hate crimes on a Disney cruise out of all places, but I guess we're starting this morning off like that. We're getting ready to go to Disney's private island today because that's where we're like docked, and the thing people do on cruises is they decorate their doors. And last time we were on a cruise, the first time ever, 2 months ago during Hurricane Milton, our neighbors had questionnaires and they put whiteboards on their door. So we were like, oh, that's a great idea, let's do that too. So my partner goes to leave early for breakfast because she has to pre-order her food because she has a gluten allergy. And I didn't want her to miss breakfast, so I was like, go. And then she, like, I immediately hear knocking. I go outside, and she's like, someone wrote shit all over our whiteboard. So I'm putting clothes on, my swimsuit, and someone put gay.
That's mature. Yes, I am gay. I'm in a lesbian relationship. Yes, very, very observant of you.
All over the whiteboard. And it's pretty obvious we're gay because this is our little thing on our door. Now, I know I'm like down on here for being really nice and kind, and that's who I am. But the one thing I don't fuck with is my relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is about these cruises, but from everything we've heard...
What's the point in just going gay? Like, yes, they're gay. Who cares? Big deal.
Like, it just consistently gets worse, doesn't it? And I would have thought on a Disney cruise as well, this would have been like way less likely because it's mainly like families, you know, fully grown adults with their children walking around as like families all the time. And Disney's whole like branding and feeling is kind of like, be nice to everyone. That's how I kind of perceive it, at least, anyways.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be inclusive and accepting and everything, but it's not.
So I just really wouldn't expect this. Full stop. It's disgusting either way, but especially on a Disney cruise, I wouldn't expect that. I mean, again, I don't know how long this cruise lasts, but at this moment in time, this is their home, right? This room is their home, so to get this, like, written all over the door, and it's obvious what the intentions are of the person writing it, right? They're trying to be malicious, and yeah, like I said, this is their home for the time being. It mustn't be a good feeling just waking up and seeing that. Now, of course, Miriam reported this, as she should, and luckily, there's actually some security cameras that, like, pointed right at her door, so you can see exactly who it was, and she's been told that it was, like, a bunch of, like, teenagers who did it.
Of course. Because, you know, fucking, you can't have nice things. You've got to have, again, with this generation of kids, and it's so stupid. It's so stupid just to go writing gay all over somebody's door.
Lucky because there's a camera pointing right like 2 feet at our door. So they got the footage. This happened around 2-3 a.m. in the morning. It was boys in their teens, to which my partner and I said, doesn't really matter who's being homophobic and what age they are. It's still homophobic. And to which they said, we completely agree. They said they didn't think it was targeted towards us. It was just boys using the word gay as an insult. But
it doesn't matter. They're basically vandalizing the door that they are renting. And that needs to be dealt with.
Cruise line and Disney in general is a really gay fucking company. So I wanted to make sure they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. So they said they're going to meet with the boys and their families and to let them know this is not okay. And a formal investigation was done. And now the boys and their parents have an official Disney company report on them forever and ever.
You sound a little bit too happy about that. Now the boys and their family have a Disney report on their record forever and ever. Ha ha.
Do it now. They have a personal vested interest to make sure their kids don't act like fucking animals again. Homophobic animals.
Okay, so as you just heard, Disney said they're looking into it and they're going to speak to the families, and they have now spoken to the families. Now, in terms of what Disney did after this, they sent Miriam some, like, nuts and olives, I guess is like an apology. I mean, in Miriam's video, she said she doesn't know what this is for, but she's guessing it's for this. I would assume so, too, bearing in mind the situation.
But anyways, he came back to our room, and this is what we saw. And I have no idea if it was linked, but we came, and there was this. Nuts and olive. No note, nothing. We didn't have any other communication with anyone letting them know we like nuts or olives.
What if they had a nut allergy? Could you imagine? They get this as an apology and they have like this horrible nut allergy. So that would be fucking awful.
I have no idea if that's like, oh, Disney saying, oh, sorry about the gay situation. Here are some nuts and olives though. Maybe they're like, we see you're salty about this situation. Here is a salty snack. I'm kidding. This is how I deal with things. Trauma and all. I have dark humor.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume it's because of the situation. Maybe it's not. Like you said, maybe it's a Disney thing. Now, in the final video that Miriam uploaded about this situation, she says that one of the parents actually came to her door to apologize, says that it wasn't her kid who actually did it and written on the door, but was there and was complicit in it.
We got a knock on our door earlier today, and it was a woman. And she basically said, hey, one of those kids was my kid. This is where the story is like a little different. She was incredibly apologetic and said like her kids were not raised like that and how like they were gonna have consequences. But she said the person who did all the writing was a girl they met in the teen club. But
oh, it was a girl. Of course it was a girl. Of course it was a teenage girl. Why am I not surprised at all?
That she's still livid because her kids just watched her do it and didn't say anything and just allowed her to like fucking write gay all over our shit. No other parents came to our door, which is absolutely okay because I truly didn't expect anything, let alone a report, investigation, whatever.
Okay, so as you just heard, one of the parents came to apologize. You would think that all the parents of the kids that were involved would come to apologize, but no, apparently not. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, this is the final video on the situation. A shitty situation. And from what I can tell, again, Miriam's been on here for a few days at this point, and there's already been a bunch of shit that's happened. And again, we speak about cruises quite often on this channel, or at least we did. And they haven't really been positive. And
no, this is why, like, every time I hear somebody's like, I'm going on a cruise, I'm just like, why? What's the point? Why are you doing that? Just cruises are terrifying.
Question being raised here, actually, that I completely just, like, missed on, like, the original videos, but someone's commenting, why were these kids running around the ship at 3:30 in the morning? Yeah, she said that someone written on the door at, like, 3:30 in the morning, like a bunch of teenagers, so...
Yeah, like, Why are teenagers roaming around the ship at 3 in the morning anyway? That's not okay.
Yeah, that is a good question. What are they doing? Now, hopefully this is the last shitty situation happens on this cruise and Miriam can fully enjoy it. From what I can tell, she's a big Disney fan, so this should be, like, a really nice, peaceful holiday. And hopefully it is that. Hopefully it all goes smoothly from now on. Now, whilst we're still on the topic of holidays, I also found this situation by a TikToker called someof. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but she talks about how she paid $600 per night for this hotel, and she shows the expectations versus reality.
$600 a night for a hotel room. Holy fuck.
Staying at the Sheraton for me and one of my best friends.
Oh, the Sheraton, that's why.
And we're like, we just do a staycation, we'll pick a nice hotel. The Sheraton on the Gold Coast is meant to be really nice.
Really nice, yeah. I mean, look at the pictures, right? $600 per night. Absolutely a ridiculous price for
it. Better be really nice for $600 a night. They better have fucking Egyptian cotton sheets in the bed and a jacuzzi in the room. and a mini bar that you don't have to pay extra for. And like,
look at that, it looks like a dreamland, doesn't it? You've
Yeah.
got like this pool, it looks like, on the outside with the trees. I mean, it looks beautiful. Now, obviously, the fact that I'm talking about this, you can maybe imagine that it doesn't look that beautiful in real life, but let's have a look.
This is what we got.
Bloody
So
hell.
tranquil. Super tranquil.
Honestly, when I first watched this video, and I can kind of understand the vibe was going to be like, okay, it's not going to be as nice as what it looks like in the pictures, I didn't think it looked that bad. I mean, that looks like it hasn't been cleaned for God knows how long.
Important to note, it is a decorative feature
okay.
and not for swimming.
So you can't swim in the pool? That's bullshit. You should, for $600 a night, it should not be a decorative feature. You should be allowed to use it.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be much swimming in there anytime soon. You've got nothing to worry about. Now, interestingly, this situation was solved very fast, and they went above and beyond with the solution. I don't know if it's because, obviously, the video went viral on TikTok. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or maybe this is just how the hotel operates, and if so, fair play. But first thing they actually did was change the room for them, right? They upgraded their room to another beautiful room.
So, Dan, the manager, just called us, and he's given the girls an upgrade.
I mean, look how massive that is.
So they've got like a huge room now. I guess that's good.
Very, very nice. Yes, that's ocean. That's the ocean.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say I've never stayed in a place that nice. The fact that it's even got separate rooms is a bit different to me. But not only did they get their room upgraded, they also got some cake.
Cake? Cool. Free cake? Free cake for a bad hotel room? That's interesting.
A cake. We were very confused, awfully confused. We didn't order the cake, and then she had to walkie-talkie and say, the girls are really confused about the cake.
I mean, look, they have definitely went above and beyond. I think that's fair to say. And the comments on this video are very funny as well, right? We've got comments like, Dan said they are not taking me down. Dan was like, y'all ain't cancelling me. Yeah, I mean, if it is because he saw the videos and he was like, yeah, fuck that, this is not happening on my watch.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this was all because they went on TikTok and complained, and they didn't want to be lambasted on social media.
And for the final update on the situation, Samantha shows that they are now like fixing the pool area, and says like, this is the fastest I've seen anyone like act on a complaint before, and says that she actually got a full refund.
Oh wow, that's pretty impressive. For the hotel to give a full refund on the basis of a video, that's pretty good.
On the Sheridan, guys, that was our room. That was our room. I have never seen a hotel action a complaint so quickly in my life. They were out there doing the most today. Look at this guy. Anyway, incredible. We got a full...
That's pretty awesome.
Full refund. Thank you, TikTok.
Yes, I don't know if she's saying thank you, TikTok, just for watching, or maybe that is the reason this all happened and why she got, like, upgrade and whatnot. The fact that she got a full refund and the upgrade and the cake and all that stuff on top of it, I was pretty surprised by. I thought maybe they would just give her the room upgrade at no cost, but she still has to pay for like the original room. But full refund, staying in luxury, and free cake. I mean, that couldn't have went better if she tried, could it? But now let's move on to the final topic of this video, right? And this is coming from Teeny, a TikToker with 10.4 million followers, who we spoke about not that long ago. If you remember the whole like mac and cheese stuff, she showed a recipe for mac and cheese, and it was kind of a trend going around where people would make the mac and cheese and it didn't go too well. Maybe they didn't follow it correctly. There was
I've never heard of this trend, but again, I haven't been on TikTok for a while, so okay.
People said that it was nice. There was just a bit of a trend kind of showing that it didn't go well. But there was one TikTok account in particular that was very mean about it and was just basically like slating Teeny and her recipes and whatnot.
Oh, that's not
saying
fun.
that her recipes were shit, shows this mac and cheese that they purposely made look bad, and then they made a video saying it was like satire and kind of like took it all back. Well, today we actually have a new situation that's going viral that involves Teeny, and it's all to do with an apron that she is selling. She's collabed with a brand to sell an apron, which is very fitting with her content, right? She makes cooking videos. And this is the apron here. It's got copyrighted music in the background, so I'm not going to play that. But this is the apron. You can kind of see what it looks like. And it looks pretty high quality, to be fair, right? But straight away, there was a lot of people complaining because of the price tag. The price tag being $95. Now,
for an apron? $95 for an apron. Holy crap. That's insane. That is Jesus Christ. $95 for an apron.
Now, as someone who isn't very good at cooking, I didn't really know what the prices were for like a high quality apron. Turns out they can definitely be more expensive than this. Turns out you can get cheap ones. Obviously, it depends on the quality. Now, obviously, some very important details here, right? This is a collab with a brand called Headley and Bennett, who specialize in making like aprons. I mean, if we look at the tabs here, knives, linens, tools, gears, all that stuff.
So they're a kitchen company. That's their job is to make kitchen equipment.
And cooking related. This is their thing. They have a very good reputation from what I can tell from the reviews online. So this is a collab, right? This isn't just Teeny making this and going out of a way to try and make an apron and charging $95. And also the $95 is in line with their pricing on their other products, like their other aprons. But obviously, as you can imagine, because we just had the whole like $98 pajama drama with like Cecily and Samantha, there was a lot of people trying to compare the two. I mean, we saw this video here by Sabrina that says, first a 95 pair of pajamas and now a $95 apron, and as you can see in the caption it says, I cannot. But on the flip side, whilst there was a lot of people complaining, there was also a lot of people coming to Teeny's defense, like this video here by a TikToker called Gucci Pooch.
Gucci Pooch? Where are these usernames coming from? I swear to God.
I believe, who had a lot to say about this situation.
Teeny just released an apron in collaboration with Headley and Bennett. Y'all of course know Teeny because of her viral mac and cheese, but also because she was on Next Level Chef, a Gordon Ramsay show.
See, I didn't even know she was on a Gordon Ramsay show until I watched this video, so that's good to know. But either way, she carries on by saying that the apron's actually sold out multiple times now, and says that people are actually trying to compare it to the Christmas pajamas.
But some people have taken some issue with the $95 price point of the apron. And I've even seen some people compare it to the $98 Christmas pajamas that Cecily and Samantha Bachman were selling. I'm not affiliated with Teeny or
$95, it better have a rechargeable heater. No kidding, right? That's $95 apron. That's insane. I just can't imagine paying $95 for a thing you tie around yourself.
I think we can all agree that Christmas pajamas have a shorter term usage than an apron does. You can use an apron year round, and yes, you can wear your Christmas pajamas year round, but let's be serious.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the main factor here is just the quality, right? Like, a big reason why people will complain about the Christmas pajamas price is because the quality in a lot of people's eyes wasn't very good. It was very...
No, and if the apron quality is made of, like, burn-proof material or something like that, I could see it being $95. Or maybe if it has, like, extra pockets or, like, maybe it's, like, scotch guarded or, like I said, flame resistant in some way.
Like, if they charge a ridiculous amount for pajamas, but it was the best of the best quality, and it really felt like you were buying a quality brand, I don't think there would be that much backlash. There probably still would be because it's expensive, but the quality would make up for it, right? There are expensive things. There are expensive clothing. There are expensive aprons, clearly, right? But the quality needs to match that. Now, Gucci Pooch, very interesting name, by the way, goes on to explain that aprons can cost a lot of money. In fact, if you get, like, professional aprons, they can cost hundreds of dollars, and it's very different to, like, influencers just making Christmas pajamas themselves and just doing it for the first time as, like, a test run instead of working with an already respected brand.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Like, if, like, it would be different, like, if I decided to go and make a t-shirt that just said blind press on it and then charge, like, $80 for it. That's different than, like, a influencer collabing with somebody.
200 range. The other thing is that the pajamas were made by two influencers, and it was their brand. It was not them collaborating with an established brand like Teeny is doing. And because of that, there was multiple quality issues because this was basically the test run for them to sell those Christmas PJs. But for Teeny, this is not the test run. They have been around since 2012.
And also there's now been plenty of other videos going to Teeny's defense. This one in particular, it has 176,000 likes, and it just says Teeny's apron being $95 is very reasonable, and if you don't agree, you probably don't do real cooking.
That's fair. That's fair. If you don't agree that paying $95 for an apron is reasonable, if you're not in, like, the kitchen space, that's a fair assessment.
That's me, by the way. I don't have a clue. It's high quality, very well made, and will last several years, and I think that is the biggest factor, right? If it's good quality, then of course it can cost more. Now, Teeny did kind of like reply to this backlash, like about like the whole price and everything, with a very quick video where she basically just shows the quality by taking a blowtorch to the apron.
Henley and Bennett apron that I'm doing a collab with.
So it is fire retardant.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's why it's $95. It's made of fire retardant material. Which is a good thing if you're working in a high heat kitchen.
I mean, very short and sweet, but to be fair, quite a good response to me, right?
Yep.
To show the quality of the apron, taking a blowtorch to it out of all things. Fair play. Now for me, I'm not into cooking enough to really understand the ins and outs of what makes a good quality apron, right? Like, to me, it's obviously just like good quality materials. There might be more to it, but I think in terms of just YouTuber products in general, the prices should always just go down to the quality, right? Things can be more expensive. Like I said, there is more expensive clothing. There's more expensive everything, right? There's always a cheaper alternative, but with that cheaper alternative, you'd expect less quality than the more expensive item. And I think when people have a problem with these prices, it's usually mainly to do with the fact that the quality doesn't make up for the price. But yeah, from everything that I understand and what I'm seeing online, it seems like these are very good quality items from a very respected brand. So it makes sense that they would be more expensive. And it's in line with their other aprons that they sell, similar prices. So I get it personally. I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below on every topic that we spoke about in today's video, and I'm going to leave it there. So if you did enjoy, please do a like down below, subscribe if you are new, and until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.
That was a crazy little look down the TikTok rabbit hole of cruises and cooking stuff. That was very interesting. What do I have left? Oh, yes. My Code Blue Cam video about what happens when you bring a bag full of guns to a Trump rally. I think that should be something we could watch. That's gotta be something interesting. We can watch this, yes, I think. And remember to please consider checking out that pinned link in the chat. Here we go.
On the afternoon of August 28, 2024, just one day before former President Donald Trump was set to hold a rally in La Crosse, Wisconsin,
of course it was fucking La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Police responded to a report of found property near the event center where the rally was scheduled to take place. A maintenance worker had been notified by several employees about suspicious bags hidden in the bushes of a parking lot. Although finding abandoned items was common in the downtown area due to the local homeless population, the worker initially paid it little attention. However, upon collecting and inspecting the bags, he discovered multiple firearms.
Oh, lovely. Just bags with guns in them, stashed in random spots in the bushes. That's always lovely and reasonable.
Including an AR-style rifle.
Of course.
Upon arrival, the officers spoke with the worker and another individual who had video footage of the person who placed the bags.
Got all saw it and all went in to tell security and everything at the same time.
All right. Has anybody touched it?
I have.
You have? All right.
I opened it up to see what. Yeah, no one's touched it.
Okay. Otherwise, it's right here in the. It's right in the bushes. Yep. Okay.
In the bushes. Yes, stashing guns in the bushes the day before a Trump rally. That's not gonna get you into some trouble.
All right. Anybody know if there's security cameras?
Yeah, I got footage of the guy walking across the street with it.
All right. And then who actually found it?
Somebody else.
Well, so multiple people had seen it. Actually came down and let us know. So as we came by, I grabbed it. Okay. Opened it up. So nobody knew it was a gun. They just thought they just reported a bag.
I opened it up.
Sure. Okay. And then you had footage of it?
Yep.
Okay. What was your name? And then the footage that inside on the computer?
I got it on my phone.
On your phone? Okay. Let me check this out quick, and then I just have everybody staying on the sidewalk for now.
Inside one of the two bags was a Bushmaster XM15 rifle, 2 unloaded 30-round magazines, and several boxes of ammunition.
All right then. Somebody was prepared for something. They're just stashing their shit in a bush, getting ready for some sort of event.
location right in that thing right there.
That might help too.
I looked at that when I was
that's
back
helpful.
up. I looked to see if there was any information of who it was.
Sure. This was all together?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very, very helpful. They've got a name and everything. How handy is that?
You got bricks in here? He's got it on his phone. I'm just gonna secure this quick. We can chat over here. Oh, I think I got everything I need from you. We'll just check the video and go from there. This technically, like, what's the name of the property here?
Riverside Center.
Riverside Center?
Yep.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Well, there's a guy. I can get more when I'm back on my computer, but it's walking. It's coming right across here.
Sure.
I can check our other ones back on my computer.
Yeah. Are you able to send that through
I can do an email or
whatever? Yep. Okay. It's probably easier if I give you my card.
Yeah, sure.
When you have the video, download it. Just let me know.
Yep. Sounds good. I'll shoot
And
you
then,
an email.
yeah, shoot me an email, and then I can send you like a Dropbox upload link.
I can send you a link to the footage. You can just click on it and download it.
Oh, okay, that works
That's
too. Yeah.
easier.
Yeah, that'll work. Whenever you get that, yeah, just send that link over, and then we'll follow.
We're maintenance here.
Sure. I met you before. But...
Yeah. They walked down and they said, "Hey, just so you know, there's a couple of bags in the bushes over there." Which of course I thought
I think, why would you leave your guns in the bushes? What were you planning to do? That's the thing I'm trying to figure out here. What was the plan?
Okay. He did tell me, and then he's like, "Well, maybe I'll look at them later." So we were heading to lunch. I go, "I'll just go look." So I came over and I grabbed them.
Yeah. Okay.
Brought them
Just
over.
hang out here for a couple minutes. One of our supervisors is going to come down.
You got the video on your phone, you said? I don't.
The other guy has it. He's going inside to get better video.
Yeah, he'll send it to him. They have really good cameras in this building.
Secret Service is on their way here. They want to look at it right now before we leave right now.
Okay, I'll call here in a few minutes. Yep, I'll call right now. If you guys want to go to lunch, just go.
He just had like
what's in their job application, if that's actually
I'll start digging into that and see.
I mean, I opened up. I figured it was somebody homeless, and it looked like it because there's a little bit of cash
likely,
on top.
More than likely, some homeless dude with his stash of weapons, just hanging out in the bushes. It's totally normal.
In the second bag were 2 handguns with partially loaded magazines.
Oh, good. So we've got a rifle and 2 30-round mags in one bag, and then handguns in the other bag.
286. I'll have 2 more serial numbers to run. It's a Bryco, B-R-Y-C-O arms, 9mm handgun, possibly Gerson, G-I-R-S-E-N, made in Turkey, 1911. What's that? An AR here, and then there's 2 handguns in this bag.
Located
in the bushes by the pink stuff, pink flowers. They're working on getting video. They had the guy in the purple. The maroon there. What's that?
There's a phone in there.
I didn't dig too far in there, but just given the proximity to upcoming events here.
Right.
Yeah. Given the proximity to upcoming events, like the Trump rally that's supposed to happen the next day.
He's just down there color washing and said he saw him laying in there. There's a handgun in there too. 2 handguns?
2 of them in there.
2 handguns and a rifle with 60 rounds and the handgun mags.
No, the magazines are out, but there are magazines in there with bullets in them. They told me to stop fiddling with it for now. So.
Yeah. Show me the bullet up. I just want to take one. I'm not going to touch it. It's an AR, right?
Yeah. There's 2 handguns as well.
2 handguns as well? Okay, just wait until I get the Secret Service over here. Charlie Fox,
Did they move them, or did they find it? And then
The guy in the maroon found it in the bushes. He said several employees reported to them and their security that there's some suspicious bags in the bushes, and then they just notified maintenance, and he came down, picked them up, briefly unzipped it, saw what was in there, and put them in his truck bed.
So this was the...
So that's... I don't know if I would have moved them, though. I don't know. I probably would have left them where they were until the cops got there.
These were there too. And this.
After reviewing the video footage, other officers in the area found a male who matched the description of the subject seen on camera.
to verify that you're not a crazy gun-toting person lying in wait for the president of the United States, or the former president of the United States at this point.
You understand how suspicious that is? Yeah, I know. That doesn't mean anything. You call into the cross center office and see if they have a list of people or who do you work for? People ready. See if people ready has people contracted to come here and set up. Do you have any physical ID on you other than this year?
Oh, he's a temp.
It was soon discovered that the man was homeless and had come to town for a temporary job, helping set up for the rally.
Okay, so he's a temp. He is literally like People Ready. That's definitely a temp agency. That is for sure a temp agency right there.
With
and
no place
so
to store
he's
the firearms, he decided to hide them in it, helping set up for the rally. With no place to store the firearms, he decided to hide them in a nearby bush while he worked, unaware that the event was a Trump rally.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So he had nowhere to store his guns because he's homeless. And he didn't know that the event he was going to be helping to set up was a Trump rally. Oh, that sucks.
What it is, I'm just homeless. You guys have already,
That sucks.
police already checked them. They already know. And so I was over by the Amtrak. They checked them and had them out. They checked them. They looked at them and everything. And then so I'm just homeless and I didn't know.
At the Amtrak, when did you get to town?
2 days ago.
2 days ago?
Or a day ago or a day.
A day ago? And you already are contracted through People Ready to be here?
It's a temp place. It's a temp place agency.
The temp agency in La Crosse?
All over the United States.
Yeah,
I don't
People
know if you
Ready.
heard.
I think People Ready is even up in Canada. Or is that Labor Ready I'm thinking of?
We're out with the guy that owns the backpack just a block to the north of you. Sounds good. Perfect.
You guys buy the bags? It's a gray bag. Like I said, you guys already checked them out. You guys, and I just came to work and I said, well, I didn't know it was a presidential. And then they said it's Trump, and I said, no. So I would just put them over there.
He says that it's his bags. He said he just got into town yesterday off the train. Should be good here, Joel. Thanks for stopping by. So what the Right. Secret Service is going to come here and take this guy and bring him back to the city and interview him.
Another Secret Service interview. Holy crap. All of these Code Blue Cam videos I keep finding of Secret
Just got
Service.
here yesterday or a day or two or something ago. But he works nationally for People Ready. They want him to work at the La Crosse Center. Wasn't able to get a hold of them. I talked to Close. He's coming. They're walking here right now with Secret Service. Here they are. They're going to take him back to the city and interview him. Okay. On the 24th, we had contact with this guy at the Amtrak station. Just came into town. We had a call with him coming in with weapons. Officers went up there, checked him, ran the same serial numbers as he's getting off the train. Real briefly here, his story says he works for People Ready, temp service nationwide. He's contracted here to work at the La Crosse Center.
I've been pushing in and out of here all day. Somebody mentioned earlier, like this guy's talking to himself, and he asked if he was with us, and I can't verify who's here.
So they don't know whether these firearms are legal? That's what I'm starting to understand, is they're trying to figure out whether these guns are even legal for him or are like legally in his possession. They're trying to match his story.
He came in 4 days ago on the train.
And this has been public for those 4 days. Like, it wasn't like he's come here prior to this being announced. So separate from the 3 that you're missing. However, just so you know, this is our PI agent out of Washington, D.C.
Was he sitting on this cooler the whole time that you've seen him? Or?
No, he was inside the building.
Where's this cooler come from?
I don't know, he was sitting there. No, I sat him on the cooler. The Secret Service guys gave us a description of him. Yeah, we saw him on camera and all that. I was wearing all dark with a mask. Yeah. We look, and he's standing there, and he looks, and I'm like, is that him right there? He's like, that's him. I saw him looking, you know, like, I looked.
serial.
All his, right?
Yep.
He's on a
Okay, so they are legally his. They've determined that they're by the serial numbers. They are his weapons.
That would have been arrested. How did we get out with him on Sunday? What was the reason? Did we get a tip? You said that he's coming in on the train.
Dispatch has the case number in there. That's all I got over the radio from dispatch. I don't know how we ended up getting out with him at the train station. If it was a tip that he had weapons, or if he called himself, or wanted the weapons checked, I don't know. I can call dispatch right now and see how.
Did he stay on the floor? Did he go anywhere else in the building?
I am not sure. Have you run full criminal yet to make sure that this party is not a convicted felon?
I apologize, homeless. I just put my bags out there. I just come to work and I was going to go grab and leave. Sorry. It's all right.
Well, dude, you can't stash your guns in the bushes. Even if you're not, like, even if they are your guns, like, that's not a safe place to stash your weapons.
I didn't mean any, whatever. They're police. They checked them already. They already know.
We're going to take you back to the city hall. This officer's going to drive you over there. You just got to make sure you got no other weapons with you. You don't need to reach for anything, but we'll have you stand up if you want. We're not going to put you in handcuffs right now. I do have to just empty your pockets and everything you got, so just keep your hands up where I can see them.
Sorry about that. I was just zipping that up.
Okay, there you go. Just if you want to just actually raise your shirt up like that, hold it right up. Your shirt here? Hold it right up. There you go.
We're trying to work and make some money.
I hear you.
Needles and stuff, right?
I'm trying to work and make some money. I mean, I don't have any money, so I ain't doing nothing wrong, so.
Well, you did, though. You stashed your guns in the bushes. That's not a safe way to stash them.
Just given the circumstances, it's kind of suspicious. We're just trying to be cautious and make sure that everything.
Oh, there it is. There's my ID. I'm sorry, I forgot about it.
Info you got?
Oh, I forgot that was in my back pocket. I just work. It's just like more comfortable.
Yeah.
I sleep on the ground sometimes.
All right. I'll come back and get all this stuff. You just want to walk to me with my car over there?
So I'll get my backpack back, right?
Yeah, I got all your stuff. We'll get it to you here eventually. We just hang out by the number 24 there. Just take your hat off quick. There you go. All right. Here's your hat back for you.
This is an interesting, like, again, the last two, this video and then the drunk driver video. The drunk driver was pretty cooperative, and this guy seems pretty cooperative too.
What's that?
They closed the door.
The garage door?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on over there, but see if you can squeeze in as best you can. I'll get you buckled up.
Given the serious nature of the event, the man was transported to the police department to be interviewed by the Investigative Service Bureau and U.S. Secret Service.
Get you unbuckled here. Hop out of the car for me. Before we go inside, I just got to double check you again. You can throw your hat on. You can walk up towards the door there. Have a seat in any
Now
chair.
he's got to get asked about all the extremist questions.
We're with the Secret Service. I'm a special agent. This is special agent. So
Yes, let's blur out the names of the secret agents, the Secret Service
we're
agents.
here obviously because of the visit and then the circumstances of what happened.
I was just working.
Okay.
What it was is I'm homeless.
Mm-hmm.
And so lacrosse, they know about my guns already.
Okay.
They know about my stuff. And they basically, I checked them it was like a day or two ago, and they, the night shift in lacrosse basically knew I had the rifle. Said I'm homeless, and they said okay, and they said maybe they could take him in here and basically hold him for a little bit till I get on money. And I said, well, let me figure that out. And then I got up on the job. I didn't know it was a Trump rally.
Okay.
And so I was like, I usually kind of stuffed my bags, and I was thinking like, I know there's some firearms. I was like, but I didn't know what to do. And so I just stuffed a couple bags, and I was going to go to work. And then I realized it was a Trump rally. I was like, okay, whatever. And I put him in the bushes, and then basically I was just going to leave him there, go back
It's
and
like
pick
the
my stuff
world's
up.
worst decision.
So you didn't know that it was anything political. This rally had nothing to do with Trump.
No. I mean, even if it is political, and I knew, I guess I would have done the same thing. Like, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to work and whatever and try to make some money, and then basically I'm not bringing guns to a...
Like, this guy doesn't seem unhinged or anything like that. He seems fairly logical with what he's saying. It just, he just made a bad decision.
Whatever to do anything. I don't know. I don't have anything. I'm on the streets and I can't put them anywhere. I've asked for help. I've asked for things. The police know that I have them and stuff. And they did offer to put them in here. I guess I just want to make sure I'd want to be able to get them out. I thought maybe I'd lose them or something like that.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know. I really wasn't even thinking about it. I just said, well, I'm just going to put them there. And I kind of think about it now because it is some firearms, and I guess I just left them on there in the open, but I put them in the bushes, so I guess that wasn't a good thing.
No, it was not. Putting your guns in the bushes is not a good way of storing your guns, sir.
I should have called the police and maybe asked them to take it, so I think about that now, and that's my fault at them because, you know, people see bags that can pick guns up and there's stuff. I guess I didn't know. I was just trying to make money, you know what I mean? And it was like, well, I'll just go to work, throw them in the bushes, and go and just come back.
Okay.
I mean, that's the real truth, I swear to God.
Okay.
That makes sense. I believe that. I believe him. I believe that he didn't have anything like motivating him, and he just wanted to make some money, get to work, and put his bags in the bushes.
And I do think about it. I was like, dang, crap, what am I doing? I'm leaving them out. But I didn't think about it at the time. I was thinking about, well, I'll just throw them in there. I'm just going to make some money and just come back and just try to make some money. That's it.
Where'd you come from this morning?
I got up off the streets. I was sleeping, and I just basically, there was some work, and I went into work.
And how do you get that work? Do you have to?
You're registered with the office. They got offices everywhere, and
okay.
If there's work, you call in, and they got work and goes. And they didn't know I was gonna do that, so they didn't know. But I guess I should have thought about it. But I mean, I guess I forgot about that. You shouldn't leave that there, and you can't leave that stuff. I guess I didn't think about that. Right now, I thought about that. I was like, crap, I shouldn't have left him there.
No, he feels. I can tell. Like, he feels remorseful. He feels remorseful for that. I can tell. Like, he's like, that was a really stupid thing for me to do. I can tell, like, that's how he feels about it.
But I didn't know what to do. I was trying to make some money, so I figured I'd throw them in some... Because I've done it before. I threw my bags and just kind of stashed them, made some money, got my stuff. I'm like, you know what I mean?
Okay. One of the individuals said you used their phone to make a phone call there.
Yeah.
Who'd you call?
I called People Ready.
You called them?
Yeah, I called People Ready, and I asked if I could be on the ticket still, and they said yeah.
Okay, and so that's just confirming that you were there that day?
Yeah, just confirming, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other weapons? Is it just those three? Okay. Do you have you before?
No, well, back in the past I had some, but I sold them. I had some shotguns and then a couple rifles that I sold in Minnesota.
Okay.
So he's got legal gun, like he's legally, like these are guns that are his, which has to be hard to handle if you're homeless and like trying to store them safely and like have good firearm
safety. I was trying to get money. I was just whatever. I forgot about that. Dang, you can't leave guns out, but I guess I didn't look at it like that. I guess I just looked at it like I was trying to just stash my stuff and just go in and basically just like go to work and whatever. I mean, I haven't had money in a while, and I was in Minnesota, there was no work, and it was like, wow, opportunity to get some money. And I seen some bushes, and I just kind of like, I'll leave them there, and I don't know, I guess I didn't think about it. But I mean, I figured people see bags, they wouldn't mess with them, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I did put them in some bushes, but then I didn't realize Trump rally, and I should have been like, well, I should maybe said, maybe I'll just come out to work today and stuff, but then I was like, I was trying to work and make money.
Are you, do you practice with those weapons? Are you proficient with them?
No, they're just show.
Just show?
Yeah.
They're just for show. Why do you have 3 guns for show? If you're homeless and have nowhere to display them.
I just got them in my bag, and they're good. They keep them up, but basically I just keep them chill.
Have you had any drug use in the past or anything like that? No? No drug use? No. Drinking? No? Mental health issues? No. Have you had any stays in the hospital or no? Okay. Military service?
No. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I forgot about leaving. I guess I didn't think about it. I was like, dang, the firearms, I shouldn't have left them out and stuff, so that was, I guess. But honestly, in all reality, I was just trying to go to work and make some money. And then just come back and get my bags and just go.
Okay.
Just leave and just, you know, whatever. I just don't have a lot of opportunity to make money. I try to get jobs and stuff, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I try to fill applications and stuff, and then I don't know, I guess I should have thought about it. If I could get a little bit of money to get back on the train or something, or I ought to get like on the bus or something and get moving somewhere.
So you were trying to get out of the area then?
Well, I mean, I like the area. It's just, I just try, or maybe get a storage unit. They got some storage units up by the Amtrak, and you can still put some stuff in there.
Okay. Are you from the area?
No.
No. Okay. Where are you from originally?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay, so this guy's fairly reasonable. I'm not gonna shit on this guy. He's pretty reasonable for somebody who made a mistake.
Day or two ago. Okay.
That's honest. I'm mad at myself because I forgot you're supposed to leave them out in public, and I guess I didn't know what to do. I mean, I don't know. I was gonna bring them closer to the building and leave them, but I didn't know if I could bring them. So I just figured I'd stuff them in bushes and then just come work and come on back.
How did you get to lacrosse?
I got a ride. I was in Minnesota and I knew someone that gave me a ride across to this Amtrak station.
Who was that?
The police.
Okay, so the police gave him a ride to the Amtrak station. That's not... This guy's making sense.
The police drove you into Wisconsin?
Yeah. The police know about... I was up in another city and they drove me here.
What city was it?
Winona. Okay. Yeah, so Winona, they gave me a ride here, dropped me off, and I said thanks. They knew about my guns and stuff like that, knew about it, so I always check and make sure. So Winona knows, a couple other polices, cities know and stuff. I guess I just don't, I guess look at it like I've left my stuff placed for and it doesn't ever get touched and messed with. I just leave it, chill, and I just don't worry, and it's good, and I'm not on any harm or on any whatever, and then just go back and, I don't know, it's the way my life's been, a lot of corruption from, I would say, the country, and a lot of corruption from things that's
come
driven
on
me
now.
out of.
Don't do this. Now you're starting not to make sense. Now you're like, oh, there's a lot of corruption from the country and from the police and from this and that.
Like regular, normal life to where it's hard to whatever, and there's like a background voice, you hear chatter, you hear like talking, you hear chatter, and that's written in the scriptures, and they talk about that, and it's Satan, it's the devil. It's written in the prophecies, and you hear it, and he's actually got a lot of pull in the society of America where he's pushing me out because I don't go after him, and he's coming after my family, he's going after people, and so I don't know. I'm out on the streets and basically I deal with that, and Satan, you hear that chatter in the background, he's like, blah, 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 hollering all the dawn. It's written in the book, in the Bible. And
so you're paranoid schizophrenic and you wander around with 3 guns and you store them in the bushes. That's great.
He's pushed me out of jobs, out of my house, out of neighborhoods and stuff like that, and it's the truth, it's real stuff. It's written and documented in the Bible and stuff, and you hear it, sometimes you hear chatter, you hear like it seems like a voice in the background. It's documented in the
Bible
like
that this guy, that you've been pushed out of your house and your job? Okay.
And a lot of people tap into it, and that's broadcast.
I think you've lost the plot there, dude. You were making sense.
Because basically, in a sense, for some sort of reason, you find out after. I've been with the Bible all through my years. I read scripture, and then I find out later in life, like, well, he's going to come after you because he thinks he's one of your tribe. Because there's tribes back in the day, and I'm not. But
what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Even the Secret Service guys are like, what the fuck?
In a sense, I've never claimed Satan or anything like that. But in a sense, he thinks, well, we can go after you because you're one of us. And I'm like, no, I never claimed you. And then...
Uh-huh. For what? What do you mean? It's not happening? Yep. So they're doing a tax holiday but no tax rebate.
As of 2 minutes ago, if you are one of the nearly 19 million working Canadians, turn that down. Nearly 19 million Canadians expecting to receive a $250 check from the Liberal government, don't spend the money yet. Sources told National Post that Finance Minister Freeland will reverse the government's position on the working Canadians rebate that would have cost $5 billion. One person with knowledge of the plan said that the measure will not be in the fiscal update on Monday, but the government hopes to take another look in the new year.
Uh-huh.
Probably about probably about June, maybe July, when we get a little closer to the election.
Yes.
Yeah, the initial plan to 18.7 million Canadians who worked in 2023 earned less than 150, but it has not been able to get the measure through Parliament.
Yeah, because it's literally $6 billion of printed money.
Huh?
That's why.
And you don't get it even though you work.
Yep.
So.
That's okay. Apparently this July I'm supposed to start getting $200 a month. Ooh. What's that? So he's homeless so he can hide from the lizard men. Yes, exactly, cannibalistic wizard. This guy was making sense. And now he's
never
not
told me
making
that.
sense.
And he's just kind of like, so I never found out. And so I'm not of the tribe of Satan, but there's tribes in the Bible back in the day where he comes from, and maybe through the lines
Tribes
or
of
something.
Satan. Okay.
Well, you have fun with that.
This guy left a bag of guns at a Trump rally. This is crazy.
I don't ever think of it. And so that's why he's pursued me harder after some people, because they think, well, you're one of us, we can go after you. And I'm like, no, seriously. And I asked God, why didn't you tell me when I was here? I did Bible study for 40 years. I was reading the Bible hardcore, and I was like, how come you never told me this? And I never.
Yeah, God, why didn't you ever tell me about the tribe of Satan? What's wrong with you, God? How could you not tell me?
That's kind of the real truth of things. So Satan's pretty much pushed me out of my life.
Has Satan ever taken possession of your body or mind or something like that?
He comes at you. He comes at you hardcore.
He comes at you hard. Yeah, he comes at you hard all the time. I have to fight possession all the time. It's something I deal with on a daily basis.
Trying to, when I'm sleeping at night and up and down. I even, back in the day, he made an appearance on the earth. And I seen him. He was driving a Cadillac and everything.
Oh boy, Satan was driving a Cadillac. Whoo, Lord. This is some crazy
Lucifer.
shit.
Lucifer's kind of a skinnier, blonde-headed dude, but he's skinnier. They made an appearance at my job, and Satan was driving a Cadillac on the earth, and he was just allowed to come on the earth for a while, and jumped into a car, and I was like, oh wow, and and he's walking through, and people know him.
Okay. Sure. All right.
This is probably back in 2015 or 14, and I mean, he was on the earth in human form and stuff like that. But he's a man, you know what I'm saying? And basically, what do you call it? I just dealt with it. I said, whatever he's trying to pursue you, I just kept ignoring him, I just kept into the scriptures, just kept.
He
just
keeps talking about the scriptures,
just ignored it. And
I don't know what this guy's even. Like, he's talking in circles. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, I'm not evil. I'm not Satan. I'm not trying to kill or hurt nobody or whatever. It's like, in a sense, you're pursued more because he feels he has a right to pursue you because you're some sort of member of the tribes that talks about in the Bible that he says he's from.
How long have you been homeless?
10 years. Yeah.
Okay.
10 years, huh?
A couple places in Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay.
Have you ever worked at political events before, like building stages or anything?
I worked at a couple places, but it wasn't political. It was just some sort of like an event, and it was downtown in Minneapolis at the convention center, and we were just putting up stuff.
Where have you been staying since you've been in La Crosse?
I was at the bus stop.
Just sleeping at the bus stop?
And then sitting in the alley was about it.
Did you know
Sleeping at the bus stop, watching Satan driving around in Cadillacs.
what the job was before? Like, did they just tell you to show up this time and they'll...
Yeah, it was just like they said, set up.
Set up, okay.
They didn't say it was any political or Trump, so.
What are your plans for tomorrow?
I don't know what I'm going to do. Probably won't be able to go back to work because, they'll probably tell the office says you brought guns to a rally, and I'm going to go, crap, I didn't mean that, and I'll probably get mad. Probably just go back out on the streets and sit down and just chill.
Cause is that Satan's fault?
Thank you. All right, sir. Thank you.
Would it be possible to just take a quick photo?
Thanks, sir.
Ultimately, the 3 firearms and several boxes of ammunition were secured in property for safekeeping. The man was later released without charges and requested that the firearms be turned over to the La Crosse police as he was unsheltered and lacked a safe place to store them.
That's the smartest thing to do. If he's not got a safe place to store his guns, then he shouldn't be carrying them around. I think that was probably the best idea. I think that's probably the what's it called? It's probably the best idea. Oh, I got that already. So yeah, that's basically I think that's probably the best thing for him to have done, is to ask for the police to store the weapons properly. So let's see, what should we do now? We've done 3 hours of videos. And we've got 6 people in chat. So what should we do here for the rest of this stream? Should we do some trying to figure out The Last of Us? Or should we look for some other stuff? Let's see. What else can we have here? Let's look for one more video. And while I'm doing that, please consider hitting up that pinned link in the chat. If we meet the stream goal, I will put a hat on. Ugly female leads in video games. Let's see what Asmongold has to say about this. Let's take a look. This is a shorter video, so this'll be okay.
Hi guys, it's me again, and today we're going to be talking about some drama. We're going to be discussing the new games that got announced at the Game Awards, and I watched the show. I thought it was great. I had a good time, but a lot of people didn't. And guess what? It's for the 2 main games that got announced there. The Witcher 4 and also Intergalactic. The 2 main games that got announced there. The Witcher 4 and also Intergalactic.
Ooh, The Witcher 4. I wonder if The Witcher 4 is going to be accessible. That would be cool if they made The Witcher accessible.
Both of these games, I think, had a lot of discourse surrounding them, and we're going to talk about that discourse. And we're also going to talk about what that discourse implies with people that have become increasingly against and at war with reality.
Okay.
And this, every single time that reality hits them in the face, there are a lot of Twitter threads about it because people are not happy. And guess what? If you spend all day on the internet, you usually have a distorted view of what the world looks like. And
that is true. If you do spend all your time on the internet and you don't actually talk to people outside of the internet, then you will have a skewed view of reality.
And even to a certain extent, I'm sure so do I, but it seems like these people are even worse than I am. So anyway, let's go ahead and, at the beginning, I want to talk about one thing before we get into either of the games, actually.
Okay.
Let's talk about subjective opinions. So anybody can not like or like a video game for whatever reason that they want. They don't have to justify this. They don't have to explain it. They don't have to debate it or argue it with anybody else. So if you do or you don't like any video game, you should never feel like you're obligated to defend that opinion or not, because it is your own subjective opinion and you have every right to it and nobody can take that away from you.
Thank you, Asmongold. I feel vindicated about my opinion on Prince of Persia now.
So I just want to make that very clear because there have been so many people talking about how, oh, well, this person shouldn't be having this opinion. You shouldn't be saying this. You shouldn't care about this. Well, guess what? Some people do. Too fucking bad.
Yep.
Anyway, let's talk about The Witcher 4. Now, The Witcher 4, well, The Witcher 3, one of the best-selling games in the last 10 years, had a male protagonist. The new game has a female protagonist.
Oh, is Naughty Dog? I think Naughty Dog is making The Witcher 4, isn't it? And people are really pissed off that she's female and black or something like that.
The story, which at least I kind of do, I understand at least enough of it to see why the new female protagonist is the one carrying on the story. Now, this, however, has caught a lot of people off guard, and it's frustrated a lot of people because I think that there has been a growing trend that people are observing of genres and different IPs that have had a male lead that's being replaced by a female lead.
Yes.
And I think also, this is, again, it goes into my first point about people being at war with reality, because I've got to tell you guys, gender is a massive barrier with relatability.
That is true. Now, I'm gonna have him explain what he means by gender is a massive barrier to relatability, but it's true. If you are, like, I have a feeling that, like, guys probably wouldn't have enjoyed, say, The Last of Us as much as a female would have because of, like, the female protagonist. Like, you really don't, like, I could see guys kind of relating to Joel more than Ellie, if that makes sense. And I could see females gravitating towards the second part of The Last of Us more because of
gender is
two
a
female
massive barrier
protagonists.
with relatability. It just is. And that doesn't mean that that's the case with everybody. I'm sure there's going to be people that, can't understand abstract ideas.
Yeah.
So they have to comment and say, that's not what I think. Well, that's nice. But I think that in a general sense it is. I think gender is a massive barrier to relatability. So if you take a character that people relate to and they can see themselves in, and you change its gender, you do fuck with a lot of people's vision of the game and of the story. A character that people relate to and they can see themselves in, and you change its gender, you do fuck with a lot of people's vision of the game and of the story.
Yes. Like, it is kind of jarring if, like, The Witcher has been a male protagonist for all of the games and now The Witcher is a female. That's jarring. Like, and does The Witcher need to be a female to get the game to be a good game?
I think
no.
That's just how it is. And you can disagree with that, but that doesn't mean that it's going to go away. I think it is very, very, very much the truth. And so a lot of people are unhappy about this. And they also thought that Ciri is uglier, because if you compare her model in-game for The Witcher 3, and then you look at The Witcher 4, she does look a bit older, and it's a CGI trailer, so there's a lot more detail put into it. Right. It looks more realistic. Now, my personal opinion, I have actually personally dated a Polish girl with a big nose.
Okay.
So I think that she's fine. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody else does. If you think she's ugly, you don't want to play the game because of that, that's fine. That's whatever. I personally don't think so, and I think that CD Projekt Red has earned a degree of my trust with how well they've handled Cyberpunk and also The Witcher 3, that I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to really, really hope that the game is in fact actually good.
I am too, because the Witcher games have always been very good games, and I would love it if this was a game, this was a title that I could actually play. I have never been able to play a Witcher game, and it would be great if it was a good game that had a good story and was also accessible.
So we'll have to wait until we see her in-game model and we see a little bit more of the story before I go ahead and start complaining and crying about this all too much. So there's that. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is the growing issue with a lot of games that are adding characters that are unattractive, unappealing, and unlikable. And oftentimes it's all three, unfortunately, but many times it's in fact just one.
Right.
And so what's happened is that I think that a lot of studios have fallen prey to this idea that players and people want to have realistic characters. I don't actually think that this is true. I think that this is a media narrative that's created by journalists and it's created by people that write about video games, talk about them. But the truth is that I think most people, they actually do care about what a character looks like to an extent.
Yeah, they do.
And the people that don't care are irrelevant anyway. Because let's go ahead and use a little bit of logic. So why would you ever put a ugly character in a video game? Well, I think that this serves no one.
No, it doesn't. Making a character ugly just to smash the common thread of what a feminine character or a masculine character looks like just making a character ugly for the sake of doing it is not helping anybody.
No, I don't think it serves anybody.
No.
Because for all the people that don't care whether the character looks good or not, well then those people are going to play or not play the game anyway.
Yeah.
And the reasoning for that is going to be completely independent of the character's appearance. And for the people that are going to play a game or do care about a character's appearance, and they use that as a criteria of whether they like the character or not. And by the way, a lot of people say that people don't do this. If people didn't do this, microtransaction cosmetics would not be making billions of dollars. Okay.
No, they would not. And this is why microtransactions are so successful, because people do care about cosmetics. People do care about what their characters look like. And if you offer a way to customize the character through microtransactions, they're going to pay for it.
Okay? Like, this is just such a completely stupid, delusional thing to say.
Yeah.
They would not be able to sell all these cosmetics if people did not care about how they looked in video games.
No.
So, that being said, and there's a million other examples I can use, like gacha games, etc. But I think that let's just look at cosmetics as a meta thing, and then that immediately proves that people do care. Maybe you don't, but again, abstract sample, there are many people who do. And for the people who do care, I do think that having a character that is unappealing, unlikable, or just in general not something that people want to see, that's just unrelatable. I think that's another really component, not necessarily
if you make a character ugly, regardless of what gender they are, nobody's going to relate to that character. They want that, like, you don't need like the perfect archetype of a handsome, beautiful character, but they at least need to be aesthetically pleasing.
Don't want to see, but just in one way or another unrelatable. I think this
You
serves
don't want to be playing your video game and look at the main character and be like, oh god, holy shit, that's ugly.
Purpose. And in fact, all it does is it serves to hurt the game. So let me explain why. Again, so you have all the people who are, they don't care about the way the character looks. They don't give a shit about it. They're going to play the game based off of the gameplay. Well, they've already made their decision, and the way the character looks, stated by them, is that they don't care. So then you only have the remaining people who do care about how a character looks. Now, do you think that more people care if a character is attractive or unattractive? Do you think that more people want a character inside of a group of people who care about the way a character looks? Are there more people inside of that group that want the character to be attractive or unattractive? Well,
they want that character to be attractive, for sure. Because it's just the way humans are. They want the character to look good, so that it's aesthetically pleasing.
I'm just going to take the wild guess and think that they probably...
I mean, I make the ugliest characters in Ark, but that's for fun. See? There you go. That's for fun. You're having fun in Ark when you do that.
The character should be hot. That's it. And this is also true for guys as well. I don't really think that anybody wants to play... Well, maybe some people do. Many people probably don't want to play a version of a fat neckbeard brony wearing a fedora with a My Little Pony t-shirt with cargo pants and socks and sandals on.
No.
And this guy is going to be the one who saves the world from God. Right? He's going to have to destroy God.
Yeah, nobody wants to play a male character that way. That's just not appealing to anybody.
Many people probably would not really relate with that character, and they'd rather have somebody like Clive from Final Fantasy XVI.
Yeah.
And so this is true cross-gender, but it's also another big issue, what I was saying before, about people that are living in opposition to reality. A lot of people are in the mindset that these things are not relevant. These things do not matter. And again, they don't matter to a lot of people, but they matter to enough people for this to make a difference. And I also hear the narrative that these are things that are only held by a small minority of people. Only a small minority of people actually think this. And I have a challenge to everybody who thinks that.
Okay.
If you think that all of the people that dislike whatever game it is, I think the Intergalactic game is probably the one that's most worst received, I want you to find me a reveal trailer of a video game that has a less than 50% like ratio that turned out to be a success for a studio.
That's a good challenge. I don't think anyone's going to find it. I really don't think that anybody's going to find a video game with that specific ratio that did well on launch.
Go ahead. Let's find out. And you know what? I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of them. I've looked for them, I've tried to find them, and I didn't see a single one. And so what I think is happening is that you have people that want to believe something so bad that it's caused them to distort reality into imagining that it's actually real.
Yeah.
And so what's happened is that a lot of these people are so fixated around making sure that the game reinforces some worldview that they have that they are unwilling to look at the rational implications of what is actually something that players want to see.
Because God forbid a game be fun and enjoyable. No, it has to have a political message.
And this goes into the idea of genres. Now, I'm sorry, guys, but I guess I have to be the bearer of bad news. But if you're making a video game, and it's set in space, you're a bounty hunter, you've got guns, and you fight things with laser swords, the majority audience of that game is gonna be a bunch of fucking guys.
Yep. That's just how that's gonna be. Guys are gonna play this flashy laser sword space game. That's just how it's gonna be. I don't care. Deal with it.
And that's it. So if you make a game like that, and you don't appeal to that target audience, you are going to have a very hard time selling that game. And it doesn't matter whether
You're gonna
you think
pizza
this should
when
be
you
true
should
or
French
not,
fries.
or whether you know somebody who isn't part of that group, who is a girl or whatever, who likes these games, or a guy who doesn't like them. That's totally fine.
Yep.
But I think that the averages speak for themselves.
They do. The majority speaks for itself. Like, I'll use myself as an example. In most fighting games, I choose male characters. But for some reason in this game, in Mortal Kombat, I've picked female characters to main. For the most part. Like, that's just how it is. But because females tend, majority-wise, to play a female character. They want to relate to their own gender. It's the same thing. Guys will want to play the flashy shoot 'em up space game.
You can look at games like Concord,
normal.
Dragon Age, Veilguard, or any of the other games that have come out recently that have tried to take a non-traditional approach in telling a story that is meant for a majority male audience. And I think that guess what happens? When that happens, well, a lot of people get frustrated, disappointed, and they think to themselves, you know what? I don't think this game's meant for me. I'm not going to play it.
And they have the right to not play it. They have the right to say this game is not for me, I'm not going to play it, and here's my criticism.
And that's what happens. And so I feel like how many points on a graph do you need to be able to draw a line? I think that it's very obvious that these things clearly do matter a lot to players, and this is not enough of a small minority for it not to be taken seriously. And also, I think that the implication is that a minority of people actually care about these things, whereas I think the actual reality is that a majority of people do. It's just that the amount of people that dislike it on social media might be a little bit higher, but it is more or less a respective sample size.
Yes.
Because I've never really seen a case, as I said before, where a game was massively hated on, like the reveal trailer, and then it turned out to be a massive success.
No, I don't ever remember hearing about a game that's like that.
Don't really think this happens. First impressions are really important, and it matters a lot if you make them or not.
Yeah, it
and
does.
so a lot of developers are trying to design games and make games for everybody. They're trying to make the game for the target audience of anybody can play this game. It's going to appeal to everyone. Well, unless you're playing Tetris or you're playing some other sort of abstract game like that, this is just simply not the case.
You can't make a game that's going to appeal for everybody. You can make a game that attempts to be accessible for everybody, but you cannot make a game that everybody is going to look at the gameplay and go, I want to play that game. That's just impossible.
There are going to be games that are more appealing to men versus games that are more appealing to women. The same as there's music that way, the same as there's, like
TV shows,
movies
books.
that way, manga that way. I mean, manga, they do it right. They literally have names for it. Shonen is literally made for young guys. So that's basically the way that they handle it, and I think that they're doing a lot better than comic books now, last time I checked. So the big issue is that people are trying to design and create a narrative that is based off of a worldview that doesn't actually exist. And what's happening is that you see games like Intergalactic, and you see games like Concord or Dragon Age or whatever, where they are designed with this perspective that, well, anybody can relate to anybody. And of course this can be true to an extent, but it's not true on a law of averages.
No, it's not. He's right. You can't have everything be exactly be good for everybody. The law of averages doesn't work that way.
And I think that that's what's really happened, is that you have people that have convinced themselves
This
and
is why
gaslighted themselves into
intersectionality
thinking
is
that
cancer.
the only way that you can make this game and make it successful is if you make it appeal to everybody, but in the case of appealing to everyone, you actually, in fact, appeal to no one at all.
Yes.
Just like Concord did.
Exactly. The minute you try to make your game appeal to everybody, you make it appeal to nobody.
Just a second, take a drink. Happen is that these games are going to come out, the reception around them is going to become more negative, and the games will not sell well. And I think this has been proven time and time again.
Hey, Spittlebuggies, how you doing?
And ultimately, for all the people that like good gameplay, they're not going to care about this. That's totally fine. But I think that there are enough people out there that also, there's another component to this as well, is that when people view or they perceive some degree of like messaging or they perceive some degree of like social politics in a video game, it immediately takes them out of the immersive experience the game is trying to create, and it makes them think about the game.
It's jarring when you're playing a game and you're trying to have fun and escape into your game, and then you have some stupid political bullshit thrown into your face. It's jarring and it's not fun.
Context of real-life contemporary social politics. And I think this destroys the escapism, and it makes people more skeptical and less, positive about these video games in a general way. And I think also this happens with movies and TV shows as well, but in a lot of cases it just happens with video games the most because that's what I talk about the most.
Yes.
But anyway, with a lot of these characters, anytime that I see a character that's added into a video game and the character is not attractive or the character is meant to be unappealing to a majority of people, or it's not, it's like doing one of those things where it's like, oh, well, all the people that don't like this are bigots or racists or something like that. That
is the biggest sign of all, that the game developer doesn't want to hear what the audience has to say. It's when people are saying, oh, you're just bigots, or you're just racist because you don't like this video game character. That just proves that the audience is correct.
You can call people that all you want, but that's never going to convince them to buy your game.
No.
And I think that the people that do that, anytime I see that in a trailer, I automatically assume the game is going to be complete trash.
Yep.
And you think to yourself, what do you mean? Like, that just means the character's ugly. Like, who cares? What about the gameplay? Let me think about it like this. If making an ugly character, as we've already established, actually is at best a negative or a net zero effect, and in almost all cases a negative effect, why would anybody do that? And I think that the mindset of putting things into a game that players actively don't like, that is more important than the actual enjoyment of the customer, I think that mindset is going to permeate the entire game.
It is. If you're going to shit the bed on character design, why would you not shit the bed on gameplay? What's to stop you from having a shitty gameplay mechanic in your game if you are going to half-ass the character creation?
I don't think that it's just going to begin and end at character selector or at character creation. I think it's going to be the entire game is going to have problems because it is fundamentally at face value, literally at face value, not designed for an audience.
It's true. If you, at the risk of repeating myself,
and I feel like I've been right a lot. I do. I really feel like, so I see people getting mad about this, especially getting mad at me. I'm just saying, boys, let's wait and see. Let's see what happens. I wonder if the thing that's happened every single time is going to happen again. Oh, wow. What a, I don't even know what to say.
It's the whole Einstein's definition of insanity. Just try the same thing and expect different results.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The suspense is killing me. I wonder if the game that everybody seems to hate is going to come out and be hated. And so people have been increasingly walling themselves off inside of their own echo chambers and trying to create their own reality. And I think this is the reason why people want censorship on social media a lot. The reason why is because these realities that they create are very, very fragile. And
No, the reason I hated that movie was because it was like 2.5 hours of a dying woman thinking of. Oh.
so the moment that one of these realities actually, butts up against an actual, the real world, real experience, well, then these people are going to be writing posts and talking and complaining about it and saying, oh, we'll do better next time.
Yeah.
The reality is that a lot of people don't think that way. And I think that you've had the internet that's allowed so many people to effectively remove themselves from reality and construct their own in place of it. And I think that video game discourse is a very good microcosm of that. But you're seeing this with politics. You're seeing this with, like geopolitics. You're seeing it with social issues. You're seeing it with everything. And people have become increasingly more disconnected from reality because the internet has allowed them to do that.
Yes. It has. The internet is so inorganic now. Nothing is naturally done anymore. Anybody that has any growth in their social media platforms has done something ridiculous or view botted or paid for subscribers or something. Like, nothing's organic anymore.
And it actually does a really good job at that. And so what I think is going to keep happening
Titanic,
is that
yes.
these people will continue butting up against reality and becoming very, very frustrated and upset. And I think it's very funny because I also believe they will never learn.
No,
but
they
anyway,
won't.
guys, those are my thoughts. I think Witcher 4, we're going to have to wait and see. I think with Intergalactic, the game, as I said, the graphics for the game look incredible, but I don't really think the game's going to do very well. You make a space bounty hunter video game, and you have like a bald girl who isn't conventionally attractive. I don't think you're really going to get that male audience that those games are really intended for.
No, you're not. You've got to make the female protagonist hot. You can't have some ugly, bald-headed space hunter just traveling around. Like, that's not gonna work. You can't, this is not something you can do. No man is gonna want to play as an ugly chick in space. Nobody's gonna want to do that. Nobody's gonna want to buy a game that is that ridiculous. Like I promised. Let's see what features of accessibility Star Wars Outlaws have. I wonder if Ubisoft has. There's the accessibility spotlight from Ubisoft. What does it have? Let's see. We spoke with audio director. Okay, who is it? What was your approach to accessibility on Star Wars Outlaws? So let's take a quick gander here. I want to see what they've done. Star Wars is for everyone, so we tried to design the game in a way that as many people as possible can enjoy. Does it have a screen reader? From our experiences on previous games, we already had some clear goals from the very start of development, and we're able to tie those in with the creative vision for the game. We've built upon them through collaboration across disciplines and by learning directly from players with disabilities through workshops, specialist external consultants, and the user research. See, that's more than what Prince of Persia did for their accessibility. We worked to ensure that aspects of our gameplay, audio, visuals, and interface were as accessible as possible by default. But being a game with several overlapping gameplay styles and features, it was not always possible to come up with a one-size-fits-all solution. That's why from the very beginning, we worked to include a lot of options for the players to tinker with. See, that's how accessibility should be done. Am I about to be proven wrong about Star Wars Outlaws? For example, based on your needs for how immersive you like your games, you can edit the player guidance by putting markers in the world in the compass or a mix of both. If some gameplay meets required precise inputs and that's not your strong suit, no problem. You can tweak their difficulty and required precision or turn them off altogether. Okay, so there's no screen reader, but there's high contrast and recolor. Okay. Let's go down to the actual bullet points here. Where's the bullet points? There we go. Okay. On top of that, we have assists that let's see, help the speeder, Kate, and shoot avoid obstacles rather than get caught on them if they snag on objects when they pass. Help steer the ship to stay on target in pursuit mode. Left trigger when trying to shoot an enemy ships will still require the player to adjust the targeting to ensure the blasters hit. So yeah, this game is definitely not playable by totally blind. Aim assist for the blaster on a controller. In fact, this feature also helps Kay stay on target when free firing. That's okay. So it's got aim assist. So all in all, we relied on intuitive and recognizable control schemes for different aspects of the game. Okay, here's the full list. High contrast settings, removal color from the background, apply colors to important gameplay elements, e.g. ally, hostile aware / unaware interactable surfaces, and with the surface of colors and transparency. High contrast mode. World color. Colorblind accessible by design wherever possible. Visual intensity. So that's like for seizures, I'm guessing. Yeah, screen shake, depth of field, motion blur, shutter roll camera, and blur object, and so yeah, this is, like I said, it's got accessibility, but it's not like a fully accessible product because there's no screen reader. New electro binoculars glitch effect removed. Cinematic lens. Distortion, fringing, and vignetting effects can be turned off for gameplay. So yeah, this is all like low vision accessibility. This is not, and again, this is why I keep saying that it gets very frustrating when games that offer a lot of tools for partially sighted players get lauded as a fully accessible game by Orange says Outlaws does have a screen reader, but it only reads the menus. That's frustrating. That doesn't help at all. So it does have, okay, so it's got a bare bones screen reader. Okay. And like you said, the navigation assist. No audio reliance. What does that mean? Important information is communicated by other channels in addition to sound. Okay. So that's for deaf players. That's definitely for deaf players. Subtitles. New larger maximum subtitles caption size. Bold subtitle font. Yeah, this is all for configurable dynamic range audio. So like I said, this is all like very bare bones basic accessibility that should be in every game now in 2024. And it feels like it feels like these games that give us these features and don't give us a more than bare bones experience, it's just very disappointing. And you feel like a token, and you feel like you're not worth the time and effort to make a game playable for your type of disability. And it's really, really frustrating and disheartening. So that's... I don't know what else to say about that, because like I said, I'm struggling right now because I don't... Like, I love playing games. I love playing, like, gaming and everything, but all I have right now is MK and The Last of Us. And I'm stuck on The Last of Us. I don't know how to get past... I don't know how to get past the... or what button to push to get past where I am in The Last of Us, so I'm stuck, which is not very helpful. It does not help at all. So that's why I'm hoping for some new games to play in the coming year. I'm hoping that The Witcher 4 is accessible. I'd like to get my hands on Diablo 4. And like to continue getting better at MK1. And yeah, just all sorts of different stuff. And I'm running out of things to say. That's frustrating. Let's see, what is on the Twitter right now? What is on the Twitters? I see Pincalo is tweeting about the Canada Post bullshit. That's the Canada Post stuff. They're being forced back to work because they're affecting the whole damn country and not hurting the company. They're hurting the country. So, yeah, it's... Oh, yes, National Post says Hamas vastly inflated Gaza death statistics, as study shows. What a shocker. What a complete shocker. Alright, guys, let's see. We are at the 3-hour 43-minute mark. And my lovely children need to go to bed because they have school in the morning. So, I think I'm going to end the stream here and go put them to bed. I hope that you guys enjoyed the stream and that you enjoyed what we talked about on the show. I am going to be back. I didn't mean to mute myself. I am going to be back tomorrow to cover the budget. The fall statement that will be coming on. I'm not sure when that's going to be covered or broadcast, so I'll be taking a look at that. So be sure to come by for question period and the fall economic statement tomorrow. That'll be something to watch. And I hope you guys have a good night. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not following my Twitter, go give me a follow. I'm at Blind Press over there. I tweet a lot. And my Instagram, blind_press. Go hang out there. Patreon.com/blindpress. PayPal.me/blindpress. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great night. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.